The following program does not have a normal intro because I was really too busy smoothing other things over to get it done. So, Ori? Good evening, everybody. Welcome to my online celebration of my daughter's engagement. It's not following program tonight. It is supposed to be a party, and I do intend to drink, probably to excess, likely to excess. If I get to a point where I'm actually singing from Fiddler on the Roof, I will stop at that point. I don't know who's coming tonight. I do know that a lot of people told me they would pop in. I don't know when they're popping in, which means that basically this is like when I tell like my channel that I'm having an online party. It's almost like sometimes like you have like when I was a kid, one of my biggest fears was that I don't maybe you had this similar fear when you were growing up. When I was a kid, whenever I
That was
whenever I was when I was a kid, whenever I was sick, I always had this terrible fear that I would go to a doctor, and when I would get to the doctor's office, I would feel totally better, and they would think that I was like scamming and making up the entire thing. This was like every time it's like if I felt sick when I got to the doctor, I was like, oh, thank God I feel sick. So so that's why like when you tell like online, you tell your channel that you're making like a party, you're gonna have tons of guests. And you really don't know. I'm not going to wait for them to pop into my backstage studio before I start. I'm like, I think they're going to come. I expect them to come. But if not, I don't know. I got 3 hours of content to fill with like zero bookmarks here set aside. How are you doing, my brother?
I'm doing great. Great. Just spent the day on the motorcycle. Had
Nice.
a great, beautiful day of riding. It was fantastic.
So, you probably didn't even know that I had a daughter, did you? That like was like I was looking to see get hitched up. Oh, look at this.
I don't think I did know, Joe.
Yeah.
Good.
Hey, Kurt.
Good evening, everyone. Lawgic.
But you could have mentioned her, Joe. I was already married.
Yeah, that's true. That's safe. But I'll tell you this much, and this is something I explained at great length on locals, and I'm not going to go through it nearly. I might have a general overview, but I mean, in general, in my circles, when a girl is looking to get married or a guy is looking to get married, so they get set up on blind dates and it gets approved by their parents, and the parents do a whole investigation into the potential, the potential guy or girl that their own kid is going to be maybe marrying, and their family. And
Did you put him in a dental chair and ask him if it's safe?
You don't understand. It's like the scrutiny is kind of extensive, and because they look at it as if like this is their only opportunity to save their kid from marrying someone who could be a disaster. So you could, if you look at it from that perspective, that they basically that's their vetting process, and after that they're going to leave it into their own kids' stupid hands, and that they might make a lousy decision, and that the decision is going to be made usually in several weeks, not over a period of several months. So when you look at it from that perspective, you can understand why they're going to go through try to find out as much as they can. And in that sense, me doing what I'm doing is not something that in my circles, people are like, oh, yay, a YouTube content creator who's constantly screaming into his camera. I want my kid being around that all the time. And so, yeah.
You're a bad role model?
You don't understand. Like it's funny that, I know some of my viewers look at me as like a positive role model, but in my circles, I'm like,
did the future in-laws mention your relationship with me?
No. Actually, what's really
they
interesting
didn't dig
about
that deep.
You
had pizza once with that guy.
Yeah, you ate with Andrew. You sat with Andrew Branco.
You broke bread.
Women. Yeah. So no, he actually is like really strongly conservative. Like he met me like just a week ago, and he became an instant fan of mine, which like is not something Lady Lawgic ever anticipated that my daughter's future father-in-law would ever be like.
Yeah, we'll see if the super chats come rolling in, Joe.
Yeah, well,
proof is in the pudding.
That's true. And speaking of which,
is it okay that you hang out with us Gentiles?
No, that's not a problem. That's really not the problem. Like not at
Okay.
all, because that's considered like work. Obviously, going to be like, every one of us is like sort of engaged with the world at large. No, it's a matter of the fact that, like, first of all, social media is kind of is schmutz. That's really the word. That social media is schmutz. And it is. Every one of you knows it. You all know that
That's
it's
like
slimy,
intellectual
gross,
porn.
disgusting. Yeah, it is. It is. And it's
It is a novel media, and like every novel media before it, it has been scorned by the media that exists. It happened to radio, it happened to television, even happened to movies when they were brand new. A
well,
brand new medium on the block, scorned by the old media. This isn't real, blah blah blah. So we've been through this before.
yeah. Well, anyhow, the fact that I basically am that I made this like my home to make my living, and that I spend, I don't know, at least 10% of my time screaming into my camera. So they sort of look at it like, do I really want my grandkids growing up around that? That's how they're looking at it. And it's like when they have like 40 other, like they get resumes of like potential people, like when you're talking about a guy, he'll get like dozens and dozens of resumes, and it's like, which of these do I want to send my son out with first? So it's like, that's sort of, in that sense, I felt like I was certainly told many times by my wife that I'm an albatross, and yeah, so like when you finally get so now that's why, and it's not just a it's not just a situation I'm dealing with in the entire Orthodox Jewish world. It's the dating situation is called the dating crisis, specifically for girls. It's much harder for girls than it is for guys, because for a number of different sociological reasons. It's like,
Yeah,
and you
well, I
wouldn't think that
mean,
makes sense, because
no, the
every
Jewish
time you get
community
married,
tends to produce high-performing men.
well, it's not that it's not that it's really high performing men, because in certain ways, I'll tell you right now, the women are actually way more impressive than the men. I mean, what the women are usually the ones who are the earners in my circles. Like they're the ones like putting up six figures while raising a family. How they do it, I have no idea.
Yeah, but those are make-work jobs.
No, it's not make work jobs. No, I'm saying is like my her older sister, this one who's engaged. So my oldest daughter, she's a PA. She's like making, well over six figures from the day she came out of school. And she's like raising a family with like, 3 kids under 5. Like what they do, I could never do what my daughters do. Or I just couldn't. I couldn't keep up with it. They're powerhouses. But it's just sociologically, there's just like a lot of reasons it just works out. It's much harder for the girls to actually get a guy than is the opposite. And so it's funny. So like whenever someone actually has a daughter get engaged, like when the friends come and give a party like this, they actually look at the father of the bride like he just like recovered from cancer. Like it's like a miraculous thing for you. Like, thank God, God forbid. Like that's how big like a thing is. Like when I married my son off, it was like, oh wow, that's great, congratulations. You married a daughter off. Everyone's like, oh my God, thank God, I'm so happy for you. So it's not a reflection on my daughter; it's a reflection on the crisis in general.
But what does the crisis do to?
Well, I mean, okay, so there's a certain age range where girls tend to get married, like which is like basically like a year or two after high school is when they start.
Really, that young?
Oh yeah. And by the time they're 23,
that's the right time.
By the time they're 23, they're considered long in the tooth. Like that's considered. So if a girl isn't married by the time she's 23, 24, it's almost like, what's wrong with her? Like, why didn't someone grab her yet? So it's like a negative reflection. And as a guy gets older, like he just like keeps going down to that like 19, 20-year-old. So that's why the guys end up like their pool ends up expanding and the girls' pool ends up contracting. And it's really it's a very difficult situation. But
well, if any of the 24-year-old girls out there need somebody, I'm available. So
yeah, I mean, when I got married the second time, I met my wife. I was 40. She was 26 when we met.
There you go.
Anyways, Joe, just wanted to say mazel.
Sean, you are awesome. Thank you for stopping by here, brother. I really appreciate it. How you been?
Not too bad. Not too bad.
What are you up to? Well, beside from like drinking lemon juice or whatever just snorted through your nose there.
No, that was definitely a shot in the coffee cup, but tastes a little weird with all the in there. Getting ready for the oral arguments tomorrow for Trump.
Sweet.
When are they starting?
It's 3 p.m. Eastern.
tomorrow.
So,
Okay.
yeah. Start at 1.
What court is that in?
Colorado Supreme Court. They actually have
yes.
they have a YouTube channel, so
I might tune into that one. That might be good.
Wait, which case is that?
This is the
disqualification.
This is the one where he's appealing. I didn't engage in insurrection.
Oh,
and then
the appellate court, right?
Yeah.
I covered a week's worth of that trial.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
So,
well,
the appellate court did the appellate court render a decision, or this straight from trial?
This goes straight up.
Okay, interesting.
So, yeah. Well, sometimes that's with those things. I think that's how they shake out. But yeah,
sure, it can happen at the U.S. Supreme Court too sometimes.
It's
been happening more in recent years.
Mm-hmm.
Let me grab a couple of these real fast, okay? So, follower Joe's congratulations, Joe's engagement. Thank you so much. Miles of Joe. Aaron Hack. Congrats, Joe and family. Sound the horn. You got it. Thank you so much. Thomas Dietrich. Congratulations, you and your daughter. I'm so much obliged. Thank you so much. And Bella.
Wow. Big bucks.
Yeah, you see, that's the big bucks horn, right? I didn't, but you guys can't hear the horn because I forgot that I forgot to share my screen, so no one heard any of those horns.
Woohoo!
So let me
I can fix this.
Yeah, let me do that better. So this was the horn that you guys all missed. It was for Aaron and for Thomas, and I don't know why that's not blowing. There you go. And the big horn that I don't even know if you realize it. There is a different horn. That's this one. That's one of my favorites. Anyway, what have you been up to, Branka? I didn't ask you anything yet. So what have you been up to?
A lot of travel, just work, doing shows on YouTube, and nothing. There's been no big trials to cover for me, so it's just grinding away at the normal day job.
Yeah, and you also have your law courses that you give out, right? I mean,
are we plugging stuff?
Yeah, I don't mind you. I don't mind if you guys plug. Why wouldn't you plug?
Yeah, I got a free webinar, 1.5-hour, 2-hour webinar on how to be hard to convict if you ever are compelled to use force in defense of yourself, your family, or property. Just go to lawofselfdefense.com/HTC for hard to convict.
Nice, HTC. And if you give me a link, I have no problem adding it to the description. I'll take care of you.
I'm not even sure that link works. Actually, I should test it right now.
Beautiful. All right.
We have so many links.
Uncivil. How you been, Kurt?
I've been doing really good as of late. Thank you for asking. I went to visit my parents about a month ago, and ever since I came back from the break, I've just been in really exceptionally good spirits, and I've really been having some great times on chat lately. I've been having some really good streams. I've been doing stuff on the Maya trial, the Maya versus Hopkins trial, where she just won $260 million, I think, in damages, and covering some of those pleadings. And I've also been covering some of the Scientology stuff, Leah Remini versus Scientology. And today I covered the U.S. Supreme Court case in the Ashan Hotels versus Lawfer case, which dealt with ADA. I read that decision discussed on the stream.
What was
so
that
things are going really well in my world.
What was the issue there?
Lawfer is a person who is a tester. The ADA in part requires hotels to give accurate information with respect to disability accommodation. So what she does is she just trolls the internet to find websites that are not compliant. And she normally settles for $10,000 plus costs. And apparently over the course of her time, she's brought something like 600 of these suits. So she's gotten millions of dollars as a result of this. And also she's created a circuit split by herself, because there's been an issue about whether she has standing, and 6 circuits disagree, largely just because of her. That's how prolific she is. She is in a wheelchair of some kind. So I'm not sure exactly what the disability is, but she needs a wheelchair. The Supreme Court decided not to discuss the standing issue. They decided to dismiss it as moot and vacate all the decisions below. So kind of not much for because she dismissed the case voluntarily. So after the Supreme Court grants cert, her lawyer was disciplined in another case on basically the same thing, with going after hotels, and the disciplinary board found that he had
are these people in California, Kurt?
Fraud and stuff. No, I think
Circuit.
she's
Sounds
East
like
Coast somewhere.
Midwest.
No, there's people all over
Wait,
the
you said,
place.
I thought didn't you say Sixth Circuit? Did I mishear you?
Well, this case came out of the First Circuit, but
Oh.
she has by herself created a circuit split in the 1st, 6th, 10th,
Oh, that's what you're saying.
and some other circuits too.
Yeah, it's
Uh-huh.
it's an industry. People who do this.
Yeah, but I
There's
think
a,
she lives somewhere on the East Coast, I want to say.
Like
Well,
there's a guy.
First Circuit would be Maine, Vermont.
This was Maine. This was a case that
Yeah.
came out of Maine.
Yeah. What were you saying,
So-
Sean?
Yeah, recently there's a guy I follow on Twitter. He Mike Glover. He's a guy who runs a website called Fieldcraft Tactical. He's he got sued by a blind guy because he served with a complaint that his website was not blind compliant for under the ADA purposes. Allegation
Okay, Sean has paused. There you go.
I was wondering if
You,
and,
you were just frozen for a couple seconds.
Oh,
Yeah.
and he, and he's, this person is literally somebody who trolls around looking for money, and they're and they're going after a 100% disabled veteran, and it's like, whatever that blindness was, I hope it hurt like hell. And this lady who goes around trolling for places,
Yeah.
I guess have that if that's what you want to be known by in your family, it's like, what did you do? And it's like that's. Yeah, that's like one step above trying to get a slip and fall in a Walmart, I think personally. So she can have fun with that being her legacy, I guess.
Would be that she fought for standing for a person in a wheelchair.
Yeah.
Yeah. Millions of people work for the government, retire with pensions. None of them feel ashamed about it.
Yeah, well, that's who.
So how do you, let me ask you this, because I mean those standing issues they always make me nuts. Like I wish we could find a way to actually do away with standing altogether. Stevie,
Hello,
Steve, how are you doing?
Ginger. Hey, Mazel Tov, my friend.
thank you so much. I'm gonna raise a glass to you four fine gentlemen over here.
Oh, see, I need to have some drink.
I'm gonna raise a glass and get my party, start getting my party mood on a little bit.
Let's get this party started.
Yes. Yeah. Now that Steve's here, he's got his whole ginger hat.
Yes, nothing says a party like Steve Gosney.
Yes, that's what everyone's. If I can get you riffing on one of those guitars back there, then I know
Get a mosh pit going.
Yes, that's what I want to see. That's what I want to see. How did I scare you half to death on locals? I was nothing remotely. There was nothing remotely like scary at all. And oh my god,
it sounded like cancer, Joe.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess so. 130 Roofer gifting 100 memberships. Not 120. My brain, it's at 100.
Now you're making them feel bad.
Yeah, no.
Only 20.
Yes.
Get it together.
No, God bless you. I actually think that people gift memberships. It's like the ultimate generosity. It's like, yeah, I'm just throwing like support to you and bringing people close to your channel, and I don't even need to weigh in with any thoughts at all on my own. And to me, it's a very generous thing, which is why
it's a good thing because you don't have any to share. Booyah.
You guys gonna raise a glass? Are any of you able to raise a glass?
I'll go get a glass.
I don't have any.
Yeah, this is made out of glass, so I'll raise this.
All right, hold on, Drew.
Yeah, it's all. I don't think I have anything tomorrow till the Trump thing, so it's okay. I got time. I can go along with you, Joe.
All right, beautiful. What's your poison?
This is Ohio wheat whiskey. So 7 Brothers Distilling. I don't know if there's really 7 brothers though.
So it's really like 5 of them are doing the work, and the other 2 are just latching on for the fame.
I mean, that's kind of what it looks like usually on TV when that happens.
I don't understand how I scared any of you. My member for 4 months. I don't understand what I called my I basically called my local stream changes, and I gave a lengthy background setting up as to why this was very significant, which I I sort of alluded to it in the beginning of this stream, and I'll explain it to all of you, which is for the last year and a half, the idea that I could potentially be an albatross around my own kids simply because I'm alienating some stranger I never will meet, and that I don't even know if I'm alienating them or not. It basically required me to jump through hurdles to work my tail off to try and become known by as many people on the planet as possible without being known by anybody in my own community. Do you know how ridiculous that is? So like I literally didn't want anything associated with my name or Good Lawgic, because my wife was like, no, everyone in our community knows that you're Good Lawgic. They're gonna be Googling Good Lawgic. There were pictures I had to have scrubbed from Google. Do you know how hard it is to have a picture of you?
If people need dirt on Joe, I'm available.
There's a picture of me smoking, which I used to use everywhere because I was like, this is the coolest picture. This is such a cool picture of me. It's almost not me. So and I
remember that photo. I remember the photo.
Yeah. No, it was a really cool photo. And my wife is like, I'm not having that. Everyone, as soon as they Google your name, they just see some guy smoking. That's very off-putting. That's very alienating. And there was another picture of me that was everywhere on Google where I was basically, my face was like locked in a rage type of and she's like, nobody wants to see their son marrying a daughter of that.
Yeah.
So it's like, I'm like, it's showmanship. Come on. And she's like, that's not what people are thinking. They're thinking that's you. That's what they're thinking. They're thinking that's what you're like all the time. All the time.
It's true.
And what
he is
about
like
that
that
whole
all the
porn
time.
career?
The whole
Yes.
that I already scrubbed. I scrubbed that decades ago. But but even jokes like that, like anytime a joke like that would come out, I just sort of like be like inside like cringing, like, oh God.
Sorry, Joe.
No, but now I don't have to worry about that anymore. That's what I'm saying.
Yeah, you're like,
now the shackles are off.
You can stand up naked half the time.
Hey, the marriage isn't done yet, my friend. You got to seal that first. You got to seal that
shekels?
one.
Well, anyways, to all you gentlemen who joined me here in my party, and those of you who are helping support and have stuck with me when I've been as boring as possible, thank you so much.
Mazel tov, congratulations.
Chaim.
Very good. Congratulations. Boy, you are having quite the family events lately.
So any other daughters on the market, Joe?
No, so that's the thing. It was a year and a half ago that I had both a son and a daughter on the market. And my wife was like, you need to basically mute yourself until both of them are either married or engaged. And I was like, yeah, I guess like she wanted me to burn Twitter. And I was, at the time I had 20,000. I was like, you can't just resurrect that. She's like,
Yeah, no joke.
You can't. I was like, I can't just fix that.
She's
That's
like,
why
honey, you don't understand.
She's like, but you have to. What I was explaining on Locals yesterday is that like, one of the reasons I married my wife is because I wanted a woman who was going to have very strong maternal instinct and put our children before herself and before me, and she does and always has. So because of that, she was like, I don't care about your show at all. I don't care if you lose every sub you ever had and you have to go work as a garbage man. You are not standing in the way of my children being able to find a good spouse. So she's like, and she was really sincere. She's like, I don't care.
So you were Abraham and Twitter was Isaac?
It was just, so I was like, trying to figure out how to work around that. That's why I changed my Twitter handle from Good Lawgic to the following pro, because I was like, all right, my community, everyone knows the term Good Lawgic. I can't have people Googling and finding my Twitter. So like, that's why I basically said, all right, I'm done with the name Good Lawgic on Twitter. Cause she was,
I think it's time to create some accounts under his name.
Yeah. Miles to join future son-in-law. Thank you so much. STFU, Joe, we're waiting for you to tank the channel. I never even crossed my mind.
What did you say on Locals that made everyone panic and thought you were giving up forever?
Because I guess because I started by basically explaining the whole background in my family situation and why it is that, you know, and how grave it is to do what I do while trying to marry off children in my community. So I guess people were taking it as I was saying, so adios, I'm out of here because I can't do this. And I got, you know, but no, I didn't think anyone was going to take it that way. And I apologize if I had any of you who were concerned in that regard. I never thought.
Apparently chat says you meandered for 30 minutes, which sounds about right.
Joe meandered for 30 minutes? Really?
That's impossible. We all thought you were going to give us bad news about your marriage. Oh, you're going to say those type of stories, Moss.
Well, I did 2 hours on why I'm walking away from streaming.
Did you?
So, yeah.
You did more than that. I was there for 2 hours and I left and you were still going.
Well, I went for another 15 minutes or so. I figured once I burned out Branka that maybe I'm going a little long.
Can I get the 3-minute synopsis?
Well,
yeah, he's got death penalty cases he's working. He's got other priorities.
Oh, he's doing real work.
I got a lot of other priorities. I've got like a bunch of other priorities.
The practicing of law is getting in the way.
The amount of effort that I'm putting into streaming and mental energy is like this, and the reward is like this.
Right.
And I need to be like, and I've got too many things on my plate. So I'm going to still be floating around a little bit, but it's like really, it's not, I mean, I got to focus on the things that are important, and I've got a ranking on those things. And, you know, streaming is not one of them. I hate to say it. I love everybody here, but you got to make choices. And, you know, when you're putting all this effort into something and the reward's coming back like this, it's like, well, it's just not, and I don't even know if I don't know if it's the right thing. I mean, if you want to watch, but that's the short version. I got a whole decision list. When I have decisions to make, I'll make a list of all the positives and all the negatives. Mm-hmm. And, you know, the positives were like this.
Can you share with us your written list?
So far, Steve looks like a poorly reformed drug addict. He did a show today.
He really does.
Yeah. No, that was an obligation I had hanging. It was Dr. Steve Hayward. You know Steve Hayward?
I don't think I do, but I saw the show. I retweeted it.
Oh, yeah. Great guy. But I had already pre-committed to him and he's one of my academic heroes. He's a brilliant guy. He is with UC Berkeley. Now he's going to Pepperdine, and a brilliant author. In fact, he wrote the definitive 2-volume.
Oh my gosh.
Along with this pile of books. You can see why I admire him. He's a really neat guy. And so
I think you still have more books than him, Steve.
No.
In such a short amount of time.
He swamped me. Oh, by the way, Sean, thank you for the nice comments the other day.
Oh, you're welcome. I can really appreciate where you're coming from with all that. And it's, you know, you can only have so many passions at once.
Well, and so much you have, you know, and well, Branken knows this, you know, you focus on one thing, men especially. Women are good at juggling at 20 things at once, but you know, when I'm focused on something, I'm thinking about that. And like I put these things in my head, and I can think about one thing at a time, really. You know, that's what the mind works on while I'm asleep. And then I wake up and I'm like, that's a brilliant idea. But if you've got too many things, like if I'm thinking about streaming, that's a cost. And it's a cost.
It doesn't work. Yeah.
I'm not thinking about the other stuff.
Yes, this is the difference between men and women. This is why I've said this many times. This is why I can never find the pickles, because like when I go to a refrigerator, I'm looking here and then there, and I'm very locked in, and everything in between I'll sort of miss. Whereas women, their peripheral vision is actually stronger. It's been tested. Their peripheral vision is stronger, and that they're basically able to just take in a lot at once with far less focus on what they're taking in. And if you think about it from either a creationist or an evolutionist perspective, there's a lot of logic as to why that would be, as far as them being better suited for taking care of several children in the house and having, you know, eyes in the back of their head. So
and they've got, like, you know, they're thinking about, they've got to get the groceries done, they got to get this thing cut, and the child's got to go here, and they got to do this, and they got to do that, and they got this whole list, and they're dealing with all this stuff at once, and it's all swimming around there.
Yeah,
and I'm like,
but men are thinking they have one mission: they have to stick a spear into that mastodon to feed everybody. Right.
Yes.
It's one mission. When a man has one
locked
mission,
on the mastodon, we're very locked in. Like, okay, where is my moment to get that mastodon?
And if you give that man a second mission of equal priority, it's not half the effort for each. It's like it goes down to a quarter for each.
Yeah.
And if you give him 4 missions, it goes down to a 20th for each. It's just it's a loss of return on investment. Give a man one mission, he does very well. Try to distribute his efforts, it goes very poorly.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Which is why I'm struggling to have conversation here while also pitching Brucey, the one-on underdog.
Right.
At SteveGosney.com.
At SteveGosney.com. And
well,
I got my autographed copy last week.
Oh, how did
will
you,
you
does it meet the?
Will you read me some of Brucey, the One-Eyed Wonder Dog?
Should I read? Should I give you a
Oh
taste?
boy, I'd be honored.
Oh, Brucey the
Live
One-Eyed
reading.
Wonder Dog. Look at these vivid pictures that he's got up here. This
Yeah,
is
that's good shit.
amazing. Yeah. I'm like, I didn't know Steve was this kind of artist. Brucey the One-Eyed Wonder Dog. Meet Brucey. All right, so here we go. This is Brucey right here. We're not going to. I'm going to go only 2 pages. We're not going through the whole book here because, like,
Well, can I recommend 2 pages?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay, there's 2. I think the core of this book, and I need your Hebrew view of these things.
Oh, okay, fine.
The first one is this when Brucey is in his darkest moment.
No, Brucey in his darkest moment.
Yes, that's the first one. That's the first core message.
All right, here we go. So there we go. There's Brucey in his darkest moment.
That page and the message of that one.
One night, a man saw the sad little dog shaking in the dark. Brucey gathered up his courage and went to the man. Will you help me? But the man put a net over Brucey, locked him up in the back of a truck. Other dogs growled in nearby cages. Brucey shivered. Where am I going?
That's the first one. And then the next one is this page right here.
Brucey.
Oh, there's Brucey.
Next page? No. Oh, the next one you want me to go to?
This is the other core part of the book, I think. Because this book is based on the Serenity Prayer.
Okay.
And since we're all drinking like scum right here, we need a little Serenity Prayer in our life.
Many of the dogs. So this is the page, right here.
Yeah.
All right. Really great pictures here. Many of the dogs barked and jumped, trying to draw the attention of the family. Brucey could not compete with their energy. Brucey gazed down sadly. Maybe I'll get overlooked, as I'm not as strong and loud as the others, and I only have one eye. Who would want a one-eyed dog?
Who would want a one-eyed dog?
That's so sad. It's so sad. But the one thing I like about this, without having to read any further at all, is that one of the books that I couldn't stand that my kids got. I remember my oldest kid got this one, and it was like such a popular book. So many of these kids' books have such terrible messages,
right.
And it was called The Rainbow Fish. And let me tell you, the whole message of the rainbow fish and how messed up this thing is basically there's a very pretty fish who's like has lots of different color scales. And nobody likes this fish because it's too flashy and too pretty and too nice. So what does the rainbow fish do? Rips off its own scales, which I don't know how a fish does that without hands, but one way or another, I guess, gnaws them off and sticks a scale on every one of the other fish in a communistic display of self-sacrifice. And now all of a sudden, so popular. Everyone loves the rainbow fish now that she's been taxed out of her pretty scales and has to rip off her own flesh and then share that flesh with others. And now we can finally accept you as being one of us. Now that you basically self-mutilated for the purpose of benefiting
I think you might be reading a little bit too much of that one, my friend.
This was
come on. Where else can you get an authentic Joe Neerman rant on the rainbow fish book? I mean, right here. That's where you get it. Oh my
God, no! It's really. Am I? What part am I misinterpreting about that story?
No. I'm just saying is when your kids have story time with grandpa, either they're extremely based at the end or they're crying. I'm not sure which.
Possibly both.
Yeah, I do ad-lib a little bit. It's like, and then she gnawed her own scales off.
See Joe reading a children's book and halfway through he's like, "What the fuck?"
And this is why the socialism.
It's terrible. This is like the worst thing. It's the worst message.
Green eggs and ham. We don't even eat ham.
Yes. My grandpa Joe said you guys were communists.
My question to you, Joe, is you're going to have to answer when you get the all I expect of you for this book is the book kosher? Is it kosher?
I'll let you know. I'm going to go through it, and I'm going to give you my response. After I finish the stream here and sober up, I'm going to give you my response.
It's a 5. Hey.
So but
no, it's not kosher because the dog was begging for help rather than taking agency over his own life and solving his own problems, looking to the state for solutions.
Well, what I was going to say is I'm fairly confident that the one-eyed wonder dog is not going to give away his second eye. So you already got one leg up on the rainbow fish.
Yeah. Well, no. Well, the fact is that, you know, when we're at our lowest and we're humbled, we have to ask for help, and that help may not come in the form that we expect, but that which we need.
Okay.
But that help will no longer come from Steve Gosney because he won't be streaming.
No,
yeah,
the book
I think that's actually if that's the messaging, that sounds like very positive messaging, because
that's the one with the star, the darkness, and the guy. He's asking the man for help, but the Serenity prayer says that you shall ask for help, and he gets swooped up, and that's frightening. And sometimes the journey that you're taking on is not the one that you want, but there is that star of hope that is out there. And
then he was brought to the room at the kennel, and the door was closed. And suddenly, he, over the next minutes, found it harder and harder to pay attention, and found his mind wandering until slowly he slept forever.
Is this the current book? The current book is going to be depressing.
You sound like the next best-selling author that that the world has yet to meet.
It's like 50 Shades and One-Eyed Brucey.
50 Shades.
What you were just saying though, Steve, is like consistent with like there's a famous parable of this guy whose boat sinks, and like he's like praying to God, and he's like, I believe in your God, you're gonna save me. I believe in you, God, you're gonna save me. Please help me, God. Please help me. I believe in you. And then a boat comes, and then like a helicopter comes by, and they're like, we'll get you out of the water. He's like, no, I believe in God. God's going to save me. I believe in God is going to save me. And then like a boat comes by, and it's like, we got you, climb in. He's like, no, I believe in God. God's going to save me. God's going to save me. And then he drowns, and he's like, I don't understand, God. Like I had all that like perfect belief in you, and like, and how did you let me drown? And God's like, well, what did you think the helicopter and the boat were for?
You're right. Exactly. In fact, the Serenity prayer is on the back, as well as, and it does recommend for further reading, go to the book of Job and Psalms, because Job is talking about darkness.
Ian Runkle.
Hey,
hello.
Job is quite a depressing story if you read it.
It's very depressing.
Are you kidding me?
It's like, gosh,
it's terrible.
It's terrible.
The book of Job is pretty depressing.
If you're looking,
God ruins a man's life for a bet. Great.
Bet with Satan, no less.
When I say it's terrible, I don't mean it's terrible like it's bad. I'm just saying it's not a happy story. I mean,
he wantonly and without care kills his entire family, but it's okay. I'll replace it double. That's not how that works.
Okay. No. Stop. No. Okay.
I read the book of Job. I know what it says.
Okay.
But those who you either see or you don't. The book of Job is a question of faith. And the fact is that God says, I have provided the world to you, and then yet you curse me, right? I mean, that's the faith of Job, and it's a lesson in faith. And it's a tough lesson for all of us, because
it's a lesson in faith in a person who's deliberately trying to screw you for a bet.
No. Oh my gosh. No. Oh God. Stop. Please stop.
That's
the
Joe. Let's make a bet. Your car. Could you go and key your car for this bet, and then let me know how that goes?
It's not.
And Ronco, once he does, you're like, oh well, here you go. You did it. You won the bet. Yeah. Oh, you win the bet. You might want to get your car fixed.
Anyways, it's a story of faith.
Yes,
and when
blasphemers! You're all a bunch of blasphemers.
We come to you on the day of your daughter's engagement.
Thank you to blaspheme. Yes.
Yes. Congratulations, by the way.
Bastards. What have you been up to, Runkle?
Not all that much. I'm gonna be seeing Branka again. Probably not tomorrow because I'm arriving late, but day after.
Oh,
so very shortly.
San Antonio.
Yes.
The Gundys or
I just crossed the
no
border in Texas a few hours ago.
Oh, nice.
Oh, is that where you are, Andrew?
I'm in Amarillo right now.
Okay,
that's cool.
What are you going to do in Texas?
Shoot every gun ever made, basically.
Yeah. Turn money into loud noises.
What about you? So, Ian, are you in Texas now? Are you leaving? You look like you're home.
I'm home. I'm leaving tomorrow. So tomorrow at ungodly early, I get on. I head to the airport and then spend the day flying. So
I did offer to pick up Ian at the airport on the motorcycle, but he declined.
No, I wouldn't go that way either. That's a pass for me too, man. That scares me.
I assume that you're going to provide some content and thereby make this a tax deduction.
oh, absolutely, and also networking and all of that. It's I don't think that one. I actually ran it by like my tax guy, and he's like, "No, that's obviously deductible. Like that's
He tried
obviously
to come.
relevant."
Well, that's great. How long are you guys there for?
Just a couple of days. I'm coming back on the 9th.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna have to stay a couple days extra actually, because on my motorcycle ride back home, we're gonna get snow in Colorado, so I might have to wait for the snow to melt before I can ride home.
Ooh. All right. So yeah, cult follower Joseph is nervous that I'm gonna get copyright claim.
Yeah, I'm going to copyright claim you for reading Brucey on
After
the
you gave him permission to read specifically those 2 exact pages.
Right.
or maybe because I'm gonna ask Kurt to sing this one right here. So because I figure you're the singer in the group here. You strike me as the singer in the group, Kurt.
I don't know this tune.
Really?
Cool in the Gang celebration.
Yeah, Cool in the Gang celebration. Show him, Sean. You got
There's
this.
a party going on right
Around
here.
here.
A
Dedication to last throughout the
That's through the
year.
years.
So bring your
Bring your good
time.
times and your laughter too.
There you go.
Gonna celebrate and party with you. That's all. Celebration and have a good time. Yeah.
Sweet.
Wow, we're also talented.
Celebration.
Yeah, that was just like a mesh of off key in like such beautiful ways. But you bailed us out in the end there, Kurt.
Right.
I'm-
Taylor
yeah.
Swift just shivered in her. What was that?
just shivered in her
I
decontamination.
felt the tremor in the force.
So
As if
no.
1,000 voices screamed out in terror and then were suddenly snuffed.
So I want before we get off Brucey the One-Eyed Wonder Dog and
Oh.
and how terrible the rainbow fish is and how that book should be banned in any capitalist country because it is basically what it was created by the Ruskies. But I will tell you that it's in my mind. I just want to get this off as far as my parenting skills. So I just want to tell you the other book that I think is really, really terrible, which is very popular for kids, is The Giving Tree. You guys,
Yeah,
familiar with
That's a
this
good
book?
book. That's a good book.
No, it's not.
Make
a
you
good
cry.
book. It's not a good book.
Oh,
It's not a
see,
good-
me and Joe disagreeing about another book and how they're read. What are the odds? This is our third time to disagreeing today.
Okay, all right. No, sell me on why that's such a good book.
It's a book about sacrificing for someone else you really care about and making it's basically what you were talking about your wife earlier, putting their children ahead of you, putting the children ahead of themselves, making sure their needs are always cared for and willing to give their last measure of devotion because they care so much for them.
Mhm.
It's a book of love and sacrifice and giving and
and is love usually
care.
And the nature relationship of healthy love is that where like one side is continually giving like fruit, branches, leaves, limbs.
Let's talk about the Book of Job again.
And cut me down. and the recipient.
Yeah, well, who would respect a book where the
nowhere.
who would respect a book where the hero of the book is constantly cutting people down and taking things away from them constantly in the name of love?
The entire thing is basically the recipient is this selfish ingrate who never comes around,
Much like God's children. Whoa.
Except when it needs something. This is like the most unhealthy relationship, and this is the most toxic relationship where one side is literally.
Oh no, I think God's worse.
Joe, have you seen Brave Little Toaster?
Now, does the tree get burnt down on a bet?
Brave Little Toaster will.
What book are we talking about?
Brave Little Toaster will fuck your mind.
I don't know the Brave Little Toaster.
Oh, okay. Well, I figured Joe would be mad. It's like the commies made it because it's all about consumer goods.
No, I'm not.
No, Brave Little Toaster will make you cry. That's actually a good one.
Don't get me started on the Lorax, okay? Don't get me started on the Lorax and the conservationist nut jobs who came up with the concept
The
of
Lorax.
the Lorax.
Yes. I speak
What?
from the
Wait a
trees
second,
and set your ski resort on fire.
I got to defend Lawrax. He's my dude. He sold more Brucey.
Oh no!
books than anybody.
Okay, look.
He's saying the low racks,
I'm
not
not
the low
talking about
racks.
Jeff. Jeff is awesome. I'm
Okay,
simply
yeah,
saying,
Jeff.
He's talking about the book.
Why don't you tell us the dark messages in Goodnight Moon while you're at it?
It's a book about suicide.
Oh.
Goodnight Moon forever.
We want to let's keep it monetized, folks.
David, do you know Ian? Do you know Ian and the rest of the crew here?
I know everybody. Yeah, I know everyone. Hello,
All right,
hello.
all right.
Hi,
Well,
guys.
You have your drink. We're
No.
cheers to Joe of Good Logic for his
Celebrate.
Getting rid of a daughter.
Child now?
Yeah.
Joe, I don't know if you covered this at the start. I know it's a couple minutes late. If you can, what does your future son-in-law do if there's no issues about revealing his power level? Like, what is he like? What's he do
His
for?
power level.
He studies,
Yeah, like-
he studies Torah.
Well, okay, fair enough, easy enough. Yeah. Well,
How do you get
power
paid
level,
for
like,
that?
He doesn't.
Oh, okay. So he's able to provide for a family. That's fantastic news.
No.
spiritual provide? He provides spiritually.
Yes, that has a benefit.
Yeah.
Uh.
Yeah.
I like Brad personally, but
Is he aiming to be a rabbi at some point, or?
Presumably at some point. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
And
Cool.
this is a whole. So when you look at the parents of someone like who that's what they're going to, and understand this in my circles, those folks who are willing to spend the rest of their lives basically committing that they're going to be learning Torah and have the wife work, provide for the family, and take care of the kids and be the primary caregiver of the kids. Those guys are in such crazy high demand that they literally get dozens and dozens of resumes from girls who are like looking to have
That is a sharp distinction from the non-Orthodox Jewish community
Yes.
in America.
Yes, it is. As I said, you
Now-
guys can't even imagine how different it is.
No, I can't
So
imagine.
that's the way
it.
to
I
get the
literally
ladies.
cannot
Just say,
imagine it.
"Hey, baby, I'm studying the Torah."
No, I made some wrong choices. That's all I'm guessing.
I'll read the Torah if it'll help. I'll give
Well,
unique
Joe, is
sermons.
there-
It'll be great.
If he's in such high
Joe, does
demand,
the Torah come on PlayStation? Is that available?
there isn't like a
the
Nancy
same is
Fair-
not true for like studying for the bar. They expect that to pay off at some point.
Yeah. No, that's
My wife at the time, when I was getting sworn in, she's like, "Please just allow him to practice so he can finally like get a job and like earn money."
yeah. Trust me, that's how my wife looks at me also. But yeah, that's the nature of relationship that most.
And then you gave it all up for the YouTube game.
I did. Well, I got a better wife now.
nice.
Oh, that helps. Yeah, I made the same move. That's a big plus.
Yeah.
Oh, I didn't know you remarried, David. Is that true?
I
thought
did.
You were making a joke.
No. I got divorced in 2018 and then remarried in 2020.
Oh wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Who knew? Who knew?
Yeah. I tried.
By the way, that's what happens to high-value men when they get divorced. Within 2 years, some other broad snaps them up.
Yep, she snatched me up.
Wow.
What
But
is it?
I like to say the universe rewarded me for putting up with the prior for so long.
I have a Jewish
I feel much
question.
the same way.
Can I ask a Jewish question?
We weren't married to the same ex-wife, were we?
Go for it.
That'd be awkward.
My question is: this relates to the daughter relationship with the father, and of course, one of my favorite movies of all time, Fiddler on the Roof. Right?
Oh, here we go. I knew this was
Sing a little
What?
sunrise, sunset for us.
on a
coming.
temp.
love that.
I'm playing Tevye today. Go for it.
What is the Orthodox Jewish position on that movie? Do you feel that it is an accurate and wholesome representation of the faith?
I think that it's
That's a good question.
a very good question. I think it's one of the most depressing movies on the planet.
No, it's not. I love that movie. Why do you say that?
That's what I think. I think it's one of the
From
most,
an Orthodox perspective,
from an Orthodox perspective, it's one of the most depressing movies.
Why? Why is that?
I mean, look, the music. I love the music. I'm telling you. I mean, I know the lyrics. I know the lyrics to almost every song in that.
Of course you do.
Yes,
He was starring it. He was
I'll
one of
tell
those
you.
little Jewish
Oh, he
boys
just
running
died. He died this year.
Did he?
did he?
Yeah.
Mostel,
He was
Yeah.
Zero Mostel, right?
Zero Mostel, or Topol.
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 He just died.
Topol.
Yeah.
Topol was the one that everyone knows, really. I mean,
Yeah.
Zero Mostel was in the
Teddy.
Broadway version.
right.
Eddie.
Topol.
Yeah.
Yeah, he played Tevye. So no, it's very depressing. Because I mean, you probably, I'm sure you wouldn't recognize this, but the whole point is the movie the whole sequence is starting with traditions about how everything about our life is our traditions, and one daughter after another basically each one is turning further and further away from tradition until the last one basically chucks it all together. So when you look at it as like a faith that's rooted in going back thousands of years by maintaining traditions, and now this next generation basically says adios, it's like you can understand from that perspective that this is like a very depressing movie, like very depressing.
Yes, I mean they should draw upon Jewish history, all those happy times.
No, I'll tell you this much. I mean, there's a little bit of a Hollywood-esque type of perspective. I do think that there was a certain level of ignorance that most Jews had. If you look back 150 years ago in Russia,
You mean Hollywood didn't have enough Jews, Joe?
No, I think that's sort of like a little bit of accuracy in the portrayal there. There's some level of accuracy that I think most people living in the time of the Tsar in Russia, which is where this thing is set, I think most communities, Jews who were living there, as far as their knowledge of an understanding of Torah itself, it's like they knew what they were supposed to do, but their knowledge of Torah and their ignorance as far as understanding Torah in the way that we understand it today, I think was fairly limited. I mean, most of them didn't have much of an education or any sort of.
They were serfs.
Yeah, they were serfs, and they didn't have like a yeshiva type of education the way I was raised or my kids were raised, or so they didn't have nearly the same level of Torah education that we have, and they were basically doing everything they could to figure out how to keep their traditions while not getting butchered by the locals. I mean, that's what the nature of life was.
The things I've heard also is that that movie is not just playing to traditional Jewish communities, but to all traditional societies. Basically, people who are from all sorts of traditional family backgrounds recognize themselves in that movie. So that's why I was wondering how Jewish is that movie, or how much is it more of a commentary on traditional lives and traditional family structures?
It's no Fievel in American Tail, Steve. I'll tell you that much.
What year was that movie made?
I think it was in like 1980s.
That's the
Oh,
true,
Bernard. Oh, Bernard.
That's the true Jewish movie.
Take me home.
Have you seen Fievel, Joe?
Fievel Mouskowitz. I saw bits of it. I wasn't like a fan of it. My kids have seen it.
The hat that belongs to pass down through the ages.
I vaguely remember that movie.
Yeah.
I mean, I know there's a mouse.
And then there's the Jewish Mouse Cowboys.
Mm.
And the next one.
There were a couple Jewish cowboys, as I learned from The Simpsons.
Well, then, okay. If you're rejecting that movie out of hand, what would you say would be the authentic Jewish movie that if I wanted to really get inside and feel the love of the Jewish faith, what movie would you recommend to me?
Joe's offended by the very question.
The things that are leaping to mind, I'm just not going to say.
Yes, there's an answer I don't want to say.
Well, I'm asking Joe. It's his night. This is
everything Hollywood's ever made.
Joe's offended.
No, I'm not offended.
Joe's celebrating
I'm trying to think if there's
engagement of his daughter has to defend the entire Jewish.
No, he's trying to think: is there a movie that actually portrays?
Isn't there an Adam Sandler Hanukkah movie? Is that one?
Point me in a direction. That's what I want. So to celebrate your wonderful daughter's engagement, and I want happiness. I want love. That's what
I don't think there's an answer to your question.
Okay, well, fair enough.
I don't think such a thing exists. I think that there's Hollywood perspective as to what Orthodox Jews are. I think what most Hollywood perspectives, they tend to be like these stupid kind of Jews who it's like every other word is bagels and lox or mazel tov in some sort of weird accent that no Orthodox Jew would ever actually say it. And I don't think I've yet to see something I was like, yeah, that's a real feel for what it's like. So I mean, might it exist out there? Yeah, I haven't seen it. To me, it's almost like a cartoonish bastardization.
Let's just go with Mad Max, just because it'll piss off Mel Gibson.
There you go. Mad Max is actually like pretty much what my dinners are like on Friday night. So
you're gonna get a cease and desist letter from Mel Gibson.
All right, I'm gonna raise another glass here. This is
I didn't need to get a drink, but I'd raise my coffee mug for the moment.
And I'm gonna raise a glass to my daughter on this one. Who, as I mentioned on Locals, like the thing about this girl, who I won't even use her name on stream, much less give a picture of her, but she happens to be the one person on the planet who I think looks at life and reacts to life in the most similar way to me of any person that I've ever met. And so it's like where I was explaining how, like, if we're in some sort of restaurant or a dinner or some sort of social gathering, or someone even around our own dinner table, someone will say something, and I just sort of like give her a look, and we both know what the other one. We both had the same thought process of like, wow, that was.
You're talking about Taylor Swift, Joe.
So I'm
just
saying,
not sure if this is a toast or a roast.
No, what I'm saying is, so I feel a special kinship to her, and she basically is like the most beautiful parts of me without the tons of ugliness that I have. So, yeah, I just want to wish her Mazel Tov and well and a bracha.
Mazel Tov.
I thank you all for participating in this celebration. Mazel Tov.
What are your thoughts on Mel Brooks? I see him scrolling through the chat.
Mel Brooks. He's your classic traditional raised in an Orthodox Jewish home, and then basically said, let me kind of ditch that and live whatever life I think is gonna.
Yeah, we used to call those Long Island Jews.
Yeah, you know what? That's not a bad label. That's really not a bad label. He's very clearly someone who was raised in an Orthodox home. You can tell from the way he says things, from the references that he knows, even even in Blazing Saddles, where he has the Indians coming out there, and the black family going around, and the Indians pull up there, and the first word out of his mouth is Schwarzes. Like that was that was a classic way that Jews in the 60s, 70s that was the proper way that it would have been referenced. So you don't get that unless you were raised in that type of environment. So, but I don't think he has much interest in actually anything more than being culturally Jewish, which I think is important to him. So,
but it's much the same in the Christian community. most Christian churches, even in conservative parts of the country today, are what I would call Christian light. They're just kind of going through the motions, and it's kind of an affectation of Christianity, and it's a social construct. It's no longer religious.
Does that frustrate you guys?
Yeah. But then I find myself doing the same thing that frustrates me about others. So, or who am I to judge?
I mean, I'll tell you this. Like looking around,
I judge.
Looking around at this panel, I know that Sean and Steve consider them. I think you consider yourselves fair, at least fairly, if not more than fairly, devout Christians, right? I mean, I think that your faith is. That your Christian faith is important to you. And I actually think that's a very healthy thing.
Right.
Right. So, and I don't know as far as the rest of you, like on a scale of 1 to 10, how much you think that your faith is an important part of your life. I'm actually curious about that now, though. So, I mean, I'll work my way around here, and I'll ask you, Andrew. Is your faith important to you? Like, would you say it's important to you?
I mean, I don't. So not to dig into my own faith on a YouTube channel, but I think the purpose of faith is fundamentally to provide guidance and structure to living in a complicated, painful, brutal world. And I think when we have religious faiths of whatever denomination who are basically saying, "Hey, whatever you're doing is cool, everything's fine, whatever choices you make are good with us." I think there are choices in life that people make that are better than others. And I think guiding them to better decisions is a good thing to do. And in my mind, that's what religious faith is supposed to help people do, is guide people, provide a structure. We're all naive little babies when we're born, and some of us are not much better than that when we're adults. But it's useful to have a structure and guidance, a framework to get us to make better life choices that lead us to happier lives. And I think that also requires, if you're going to have that some decisions are bad. That's a bad decision. You're making a poor choice. That's going to have a bad outcome for you. And what I see in the churches I go to is most of them won't do the negative part. All they do is praise everyone. It's all good. Whatever you do is fine. But that's not reality. That's a delusion. In the real world, some decisions are horrible, are going to lead to horrible outcomes for you and your marriage and your children. And so, yeah, I think there's aspects of more traditional religious faiths of whatever denomination. It could be Jewish faith, it could be Christian faith, it could be Islam. I don't know. But I think it's important for people to have, for most people, to have a religious structure around them that says, hey, there's a reason why we have these boundaries, because when you cross these boundaries, really bad things tend to happen. So you may be free to cross them. The secular world maybe say you can, but just be aware, when you cross them, you're at higher risk of bad outcomes.
I think it's very well said. Very well said. And I agree with you wholeheartedly that religion provides a structure, a necessary structure, which to someone who's completely irreligious seems to be
for
shattering.
thousands of years. Right?
It's a system that works. Right. It's
these are time-tested frameworks.
Yeah. and they're timeless. And the way that the irreligious tend to spit on it is saying that it's outdated, ancient thinking. And they might look into they might pinpoint certain esoteric elements to it as a basis to try and engage in that level of cognitive dissonance, rather than and that way disregard the overall message as far as establishing boundaries for yourself.
I mean, we could compare it to communism and how well communism has worked in the last 100 years.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What about you, Kurt? Where are you at on this? You consider yourself religious?
I think I'm going to pass with all respect on this question.
By all means. Ian, you want to weigh in or not?
Sure. I mean, I'm not religious, but I think a lot of religions make a lot of good points. It's more a matter of like, I don't personally believe, but still you want to live your life in a way that that if there was a deity and you'd be able to say, well, I stand behind that.
Right.
You know, I don't personally believe, and I don't really know of a way to change that. But at the same time, that doesn't mean don't go out and be a good person where you can. So
I think a problem a lot of us run into, and by us I mean people who are, in all humility, and we're brighter than the average bear, right? I think a problem a lot of us run into is we make the mistake of thinking that most of the world functions like we do, even in Western societies, that most people are about as bright as we are, about as successful as we are. But that's not true. Most people are much more limited than we are. And even if we have the luxury of saying, hey, I'm so smart and so capable, I don't have to believe in the guy in the sky story. That's not true of most people. I think most people without a framework to guide them are not capable of them guiding themselves to really happy, successful lives. I think they run afoul. Treating them like children is too extreme, but we don't let children make all their decisions. Sorry, I see people waving. I don't know.
People are waving at Ron, who popped. Ron Coleman popped in here.
Oh, Ron! Hey, how are you, man?
The least childish person in the room, based on distance from childhood.
I need to just drop a little horn here. Let's go, Brandon. Don't judge sober Dave. You already had your first wedding night already. Cheers, Joe. Thank you so much. I'm gonna raise a glass. I'm gonna raise a glass to my friend who popped in here, Ron Coleman, who was at.
Hi, Ron.
How you doing?
Who was actually at? He actually was at the engagement party there. Well, I had 2 nights ago. I've had back-to-back nights of engagement party. This is like my third night.
Wait, so we're like the third round.
You are.
See what we come in on the list.
We're the third string. We're the third string.
The first one was designed for immediate family. The one yesterday was more of a public affair designed for like my community or like extended family, and this one has a lot more people. And
Yeah,
and-
that's the funny
Salute.
thing.
yeah, salute. God bless y'all.
Salute.
To you, Ron. Only simchas.
Only Simchas.
Ron Coleman, I will say that I watch, you don't promote it, but you've got an awesome interview channel. I
Well,
watched
that's
some.
very nice. I don't promote it.
You don't promote it. I'm going to promote it because
How should I promote it?
I watched Kurt Schindler, which is, I keep telling Andrew he needs to
Schlichter.
have him on his channel.
Kurt Schlichter.
I've had Kurt on my channel.
Yeah, but you never invite me because
No,
I love Kurt
No,
Schindler.
this is really what that was all about. Now we're getting to the real point.
No,
of it.
no.
Yeah. He wants to
also
see that
have
on your channel.
William Jacobson.
Well, thank you
who's
very
doing
much.
some-
Thank you. I am actually looking into ways to have to get my work promoted betterly.
Well,
So
you
thank
don't have enough. So very few people watch. I'm like, what is this? The
Yeah,
great Ron Coleman. You got all these great interviews, of all these brilliant people,
You
like
know?
you and William Jacobson.
I honestly didn't know you had a channel. Now I need to go look for it.
Oh my
It's
gosh.
great.
Yeah, no, he's
Thank
got
you very much, Ron Coleman. Yeah, Culmination is if
Coleman
you
Nation
listen to the
is in the
podcast,
Culmination.
it's available on video and all the other ways. The fact is that downloads are pretty decently respectful for an unpromoted thing, but I am exploring what I can do to. But not enough about me. Let's talk about Joe and his happy life. So
Well-
as Joe was explaining, we have these. Used to be there was just this little get together,
right,
the L'chaim, the night that the night that the engagement is announced.
like the Tevye song with the dancing Russians and everything.
Right.
I
Yeah.
thought you denounced the Devia song.
And then you have like an engagement party, which would be a little bit wider circle. And so last night, as it happens, my son was engaged. So I couldn't go to Joe's main party.
And what he's telling you is that his son just got engaged. Not only did my daughter get engaged 2 days ago, his son got
wow.
engaged last night.
And,
No,
and-
it's the
and-
same-
I didn't know if that was
Congratulations.
public, which is why I
It's
didn't
the
want to
same
say
guy?
it. No,
Yes.
no.
L'chaim. Yeah.
I knew
Congratulations.
someone
but
was
listen to no, and there was a brief discussion, and I mean about four seconds long, whether Joe's daughter should be introduced to my son,
yeah.
and it
We had
was,
the conversation.
and everyone agreed that wasn't.
And they were,
That
they were
wasn't-
the right,
That'd
they
be
were
like
the right-
critical mass.
Like
Move.
now, is it too late to introduce them?
Now it is absolutely too late to introduce them.
Yes. Yeah. Now
That's
would
one
be
of them
terrible.
dies.
So we had our L'chaim last night in Lakewood, New Jersey, which is the center of the Western Hemisphere of Orthodox Jews in our day and age. And so, Joe, I don't have a chance to tell you. So the girl who my son is engaged to now,
Mhm.
her mother is one of 11 children,
Oh my god.
and the father is one of 13 children.
Oh my god. You poor thing.
Meaning that my son, when he gets married in February, will have 42.
8.
Right,
40.
but you have to take out I think it's 44. 44
Aunts and
uncles and aunts that he didn't have.
I'm just
before.
realizing that Orthodox Jews and Catholics have something in common.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that wedding's gonna be like in Goodfellas. They were all named Polly or Petey.
Well, so-
Everybody used to do that.
Yeah,
Everybody
that's
used
right.
to do that.
Except
Well,
maybe
yes, I mean, 'cause
Avi
that-
Avi
So last night
Fantastic.
we had the L'chaim in Lakewood, but it was massive, but it was almost all blood relatives
wow.
of the bride's family. But enough,
Wow.
it was thank God, beautiful family, really nice people, and this is what we do. We produce rapidly, and and when we do so, we are immediately accused of forming a fifth column within the community that hosts us.
Why
And then
not?
and then we bring plagues on your ass.
I want to diverge from Jewish orthodoxy. What I hear a lot of is a lot of tradition involving families and things like that. And actually, I just had on Sunday sort of a family tradition. It's not at all a normal one, but we make grave blankets every year for our family, for our loved ones that have died. and we go back generations and generations, and then we place them on their gravestones and things like that. But my brother and I have noticed that our kids are not at all interested. When we were young, we participated and we went out to the cemetery, and our kids are not at all interested
because they have TikTok.
Well, and that's the thing. I feel like this next generation is really getting away from a lot of these traditional things. And I'm wondering,
man,
if
people have been saying that throughout all history. You know that. You can go back to like 3000 BC and find cool. It's basically for every generation. All the kids these days
That
and all
is
the rest of it.
absolutely true. Absolutely.
I know, but I was turning it back into, do you see the next generation still participating in the Orthodox traditions like you guys did? Or is that something that's sort of isolated from the general community?
Right. And I think there's organized traditions like you're talking about. So I lived in the Netherlands for 2 years, about a decade ago. And this is 50, 60 years after World War II. But Dutch families still adopt graves of American servicemen and decorate them with flowers every Liberation Day in the Netherlands. So it's been many generations since Liberation Day happened, but they nevertheless preserve the tradition. The kids haven't forgotten. The kids adopted the tradition. So I think it's different to say, well, kids don't listen to the same music. They don't watch the same movies. They don't cut their hair the same way. That's different than a tradition that's actually long-standing, that actually is sustained.
Well, and that's what I was wondering. I was just, if it's still within the Orthodoxy, if it's still strong.
So I'll tell you an interesting thing that's developed over the last 10 to 20 years or so in the Orthodox community. What I've seen, and I think many in my position have seen similarly, is that with the next generation behind mine and Ron, there tends to be this complete polarization of either them going completely like drifting further and further away from the faith at like an exponentially quick rate, and engaging in things that I in my youth and Ron in his youth probably never would have even thought of engaging in.
Joe, our youths were not the same.
Perhaps. Okay, fine. I'm not going to speak for you. But I'll tell you, I and my peers.
Tell him, Ron, how he was the kid. Oh, the kids these days with the Joe.
No, what I'm saying
with the YouTube.
I'll give you an example. Okay, in circles I grew up in. Okay, so the worst that the worst of like the kids in schools that I went to would never consider using drugs. Okay, there was no such thing as drugs in school at all, not even marijuana. It's like the worst of them would smoke cigarettes and like hang out with girls, which we're not supposed to do that in our youth.
How old
that
are
was
you,
the worst of them. I'm talking about like when I was in my teens and early 20s.
No, how old are you now? Just to provide a framework.
I'm 53.
Okay. Yeah.
So when you're talking about like Jewish, Orthodox Jewish kids in like the 80s and 90s, that's where we were at now. Today, there is an issue of there being a drug problem and there being other things there that has infected our circles. But the polarization I want to describe to you is with respect to staying close to the faith. The ones who do stay close to the faith are far more religious than anyone from my youth. So my kids right now, who fortunately stay close to the faith, they are far better people as far as far better what we would call Jews than I was at their age. I mean, like it's not even close. It's not even comparable. Like they're much better than I was at their age. And I'm not saying that as a proud parent. I'm just saying that's reality. Like
here's my answer. Here's my answer to that question. Joe is making important points, but I think I'm going to answer the actual question. These are not traditions. These happen to be traditions, but they are part of a way of life that is linked to observance, to religious observance, that we really don't care whether or not the parties get bigger or there are 2 engagement parties or no engagement parties. The real point is that we have big families because the Torah requires us to marry early because we don't have a casual sex. Our dating is no touch dating. It is entirely getting to know.
There is no dating. That's not dating. So you have no dating. No dating is normal, by the way.
Well,
dating is a modern creation.
Oh well, all right.
Yeah,
So,
that's true.
There are certainly in some in some parts of the subculture within the subculture, there is an absolute bare minimum of premarital even socializing. But as a general rule, people find out whether there's compatibility. Is this someone you want to hang out with? Is this someone? But there's a massive amount of pre-clearance done before the couple ever meets. So that continues on, and the reason our community is growing at the exponential rate that it is, and is because these aren't merely traditions, and these aren't merely interesting and cool things. They're a way of life that, to a very large extent, is a continuation of millennia of observance of the Torah. And Joe is right, however, that guys his age, and I'm his age. I mean, I'm 60, he's 53. Big, same thing. The standard for observance among those who have not left it, and that's part of the reason people are leaving it, I think. In other words, the standard for observance is much more rigorous than it was 20, 30, 40 years ago, meaning that those who aren't sticking with it, those who aren't up to it, are bailing completely. There's much less ambiguity than there was a generation ago.
But Ron, did they just go from being Orthodox to non-Orthodox? Because I grew up. I mean, I'm not Jewish, but I grew up in a very Jewish community on Long Island, New York. But it was a very, I guess I would call them, I don't know, Presbyterian Jews. I mean, it's very kind of a relaxed kind of practice.
So what happened is when my parents were growing up, it would have been unthinkable not unthinkable, but intermarriage was really, really rare. But the reason it was rare was basically because of prejudice. In other words, it was unthinkable to marry a non-Jew because you considered them to be inferior. You considered them. You look down your nose at them as
sure, right. But that's the same, I think, for every cultural community.
And what happens is, as people mature and assimilate and get to know each other, they no longer see things that way. And they go to college and they meet people, and they find out that people from all kinds of different backgrounds could be fantastic, and maybe even actually a lot more pleasant than what you're used to at home. So the only reason to maintain our connection with our heritage is because of the Torah, is because God. It's because of the relationship with God. If you don't have that, if it's just going to be ethnic identity, then you can have ethnic identity, as a hobby. I'm interested in grave blankets and scrapbooking and Jewish stuff. And if it's Jewish stuff is inconvenient for my life, and if it affects the way that I have to make choices, if I would rather do grave blankets this weekend instead of observe the Sabbath, then I'll do grave blankets. But for us, Joe and I see each other in synagogue every Shabbos, every Saturday morning, because that's what God requires of us. And it doesn't feel, it's not like, oh God, here we are again because God made us to go to synagogue. It is our way of life. It is absolutely hardwired into us.
That's a really important thing. And I think that really answers David's question a lot. And I'm not speaking, it doesn't always hold true, but 95% of the time, what I will see, at least amongst Jews, is those who seem to actually genuinely enjoy their observance of the faith are far more likely to have children who will follow in the footsteps than the ones who are going through the motions because they feel some sort of societal pressure to conform to their.
You guys do a lot to make that societal pressure manifest, so no surprise.
Right, but the point is this: if the reason that you're doing it is because of the societal pressure, your kids are far more likely to say, "I don't need this," and chuck it.
If they pick up cynicism or lack of sincerity,
right. And they think it's hypocrisy, and they don't really mean it and feel it and believe it, and they just won't follow it. But those who actually really appreciate the benefits of embracing the lifestyle.
Have you guys seen Joe's dad on the show?
Yeah.
If you grew up in a home headed by a man like that, you're gonna have a real baked in love for it. You know, I mean,
Right, but nobody has that experience today. Nobody has that.
except those of us who do.
Right.
Is it weird that
right.
I
So
can't find
it's literally 2 generations removed, right, from the current kids going through whatever religious structure you might pick, right? Christianity, Catholicism,
Hey, it's Nate.
Judaism.
Hey, Nate,
Nate the
What's up,
lawyer.
everybody? Yo, what's going on?
how we
Speaking
doing?
of men of
At one
God,
point, I gotta bow out, but I'll just add. Can I just pile on? I got one point, and then I gotta go. But that is that. Following what Bronca said is that the I found an interesting statistic, and that is the key component of whether children go to church or not, attend church regularly or not, is whether the father attends church regularly with the family. The mother's participation in the church is irrelevant. If basically statistically, the mother's taking the children to church and the mom and the dad doesn't go, the children are likely not to go to church.
It's just a chore. That's a chore.
and remember
Right.
that
If the father goes, it's authoritative.
that famous Norman Rockwell illustration. The dad is sitting slumped down in the chair as the mother is leading the kids out the door, dressed in their Sunday best. It's a losing proposition.
It is losing. And I think so therefore, a lot of the wreckage that's been done to the family structure has also had an echoing impact on church attendance and faith generally, because the fathers are the leaders in this area of morality and guidance for their children. So sadly, that is an effect that we're seeing of fatherless homes. But I got to get going.
Later,
I
brother. Thank you so much for coming by.
Mazel tov. God bless you and your family.
Hey, Steve.
Ron,
Take care, Steve.
Keep those guys from getting executed.
See you, Steve.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All order. Thanks.
Unless
man.
they deserve it, Steve.
Oh, yeah.
That's funny. Later, brother. Let me get some of these
All
super chats before I embrace you, Nate. Okay, so I just have a handful here that I want to get rid of. Everyone, your windows cracked. That's when we were singing Celebration. So I so agree with you about the Giving Tree book. I didn't like it either. It's a disaster. The Giving Tree book. Oh my god, I hate that book. Joe's right about the relationship with the Giving Tree is unhealthy.
Wait. You hate the Giving Tree? Why do you hate the Giving Tree? Sorry, I didn't mean
The
to interrupt.
entire story of the Giving Tree. The entire
again.
story is basically
They're commies.
No, not commies. That's the rainbow fish. No, it's about a toxic
Whatever.
relationship between one side that is continually giving and the other side that basically has zero appreciation, only comes around when they need more, and ends up bleeding the parent.
Okay, I get it.
It's death
No, you're right. Yeah,
with
it
zero
is
appreciation
actually,
ever.
You know what?
Which
You're
means
right.
the kid
It's
is
a
not
horrible
growing up
book.
into a healthy kid. The kid is not growing up into a healthy kid who's appreciative of what he's getting. He's simply learning to take, and that's invariably what he's going to be.
Well, I read it as a sad moral story. Like, you don't want to just take because you're going to be sad at the end. It's not what you need to do in order to lead a happy life. That's how I always saw it.
All right. Well, you found a way to infuse a healthy message into it. So I want to just drop a blast here for Chuck Wilson. Thank you for gifting 10 good Lawgic membership.
Wow.
Much obliged. Thank you so much, brother. Frisco Kid. So we're talking about, this was when we were asking about, I was asking about movies that properly genuinely reflect Jewish life. So someone's saying Frisco Kid, a bomb movie, Jewish rabbi goes west. Can you think of this? I couldn't think of one. Can you think of a single movie that you think accurately reflects Jewish life, Ron?
Jewish life now?
Yeah.
Because what was really very good was Son of a Gun. One of the let me think about that. I don't.
The 10 Commandments.
Yes, spot on.
I'm not really
Where's
the
your
right guy
Moses
to ask.
now?
I'm not too plugged in on the media stuff. But if I think, I'll think of something.
All right. Congratulations to the family. Also, happy Hanukkah to you all. That reminds me, Hallie sent me on Venmo a question saying, I own a business. I'm trying to be respectful of other cultures. However, I'm not smart about other religions as I should be. Do I say happy Hanukkah tomorrow and then every day for the next 8 days and nights? Or do I say happy Hanukkah on the last night? You just say it once. Just like with Christmas, you would say Merry Christmas once. You can say it just once. And
I say Merry Christmas all the time in the Christmas season.
well, you can say it as much as I'm saying to the same person. You'll say Merry Christmas over and over again every time you see them during Christmas season.
Probably the
Yes,
same
12
time.
days
and
of Christmas.
also punched him in the face.
I think one time is more than sufficient.
Does it matter if they're living with you?
Yeah, no. Once is fine. Once is really fine. Mel Brooks and Robin Hood Men in Tights is so obviously the most accurate representation of the Orthodoxy ever.
Yeah.
Those tip snippers. Wait. So in Spaceballs, when Yogurt says, "I see your Schwartz is as big as mine," that was a black joke. I don't know. I don't remember that. Just now seeing the context of this party, didn't we just talk about this? Congrats, Joe and daughter. Let loose, bro. Thank you so much. Colin Show Indie Game says, Mazda, take a drink for your daughter's joyous occasion. Another for Ron. Great to see you, this awesome group. Thank you so much. Kelly R. dropping Mazda in the most Hollywood-esque way. Congratulations, you and your lovely daughter. Thank you so much, Kelly. That's very generous of you. And Cars in Depth says, Milestone, that's a reference to the Zodiac, by the way. I've been over 100 Seder's and know Bechol Darvadar and read Job. So I understand that part of the deal. But couldn't we get a break for one generation? I don't know. All right. So, Nate, the lawyer, how are you, my brother? It's been a very long time.
What a cool look, Nate. When did you start?
Yeah.
I mean,
With the shades and the green light
got
behind
a whole
them.
new studio.
is that what Texas did to you?
Yeah,
Finally
Texas.
made you cool?
Yeah, just fucking being able to relax down here. I don't have to deal with the migrants all on the streets in New York, stepping over everybody. So it's
You
crazy.
were a race.
Where are you
I
in
know.
Texas, Nate?
Yeah, I'm in Houston. Well, I'm in the
Houston,
suburbs
all
of Houston. Yeah, I'm in the suburbs of Houston.
I was
in
just in
Texas
Houston.
Oh, one thing I find interesting is that in Houston is the most dangerous city in Texas, but the suburbs of Houston are the safest places in Texas. So I'm like, damn, why do they have to border each other? That doesn't make any sense.
How far
It's
from
weird how that
Margaritaville are you?
I don't know where Margaritaville is. I had to Google.
Just on the north end. I don't know. That's where I was. Margaritaville and Galveston, and then Houston's in between. Just driving back and forth.
And I'll be moving out that way to live near Nate on February, so that'll be fun.
Nice.
Are you moving? Really
Yeah,
exciting.
yeah.
Where are you
You know-
moving to?
I'm going to move to Houston to be near Nate, and
Yeah, I
also
can-
Attorney
Nate,
Tom lives in
I-
Houston, so
I
that'll
can
be
see a
cool.
community really building
Yeah, why
around
not?
Nate.
There'll be three of us out there, so why not?
Yeah,
Wow.
Attorney
Like
Tom, this is
Lakewood.
his hometown.
Oh, I was wondering who the third was. Very cool.
It's funny because like I literally was trying to get an ad agency to sign to an ad agency, but this is the third time that they've told me that I'm too conservative for their agency.
Nice.
I'm like,
Texas.
me?
What's
I'm
Houston,
the Trump
The
supporting
least
lunatic.
conservative.
Yeah,
among
no,
the conservatives.
you have come
I
a
know.
long way. Let's not kid ourselves. You have been so red pilled. Don't kid yourself.
Mm.
When I first started watching Nate, I thought for sure he was conservative, and then now that I've been on panels with him, I see the other side.
You see the dark side.
The truth revealed.
It's like I tried not to. It's like it doesn't matter. It doesn't help.
I am really loving the green lighting backdrop behind you. I'm not kidding you, Nate. That is just.
Oh.
You look like I don't. It's not very lawyerly. It's just very cool though. Like
Plus, it lets
Nate
us
has
put
a-
whatever
Nate was
background
no-
we want behind you.
Not only is Nate not lawyerly, I'm not so sure he's even really a lawyer.
Oh,
no.
Yeah, that trickles over now to everyone. I get that in my
Yes.
chat. It's probably because of the stuffed animals behind me.
The funniest thing I've gotten is people who say, "I know your real name. I'm going to reveal it." And it's like, it's literally the first thing I say in every single video. I've ever put out.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
Oh my god.
Oh, Dirk does not like Nate.
Let me get a couple of these more that
Dirk
couple
does
more
not
that
like
just
Nate.
that just popped in here.
Oh, Dirk-
Corathus says, I hate to derail this, but I have tagged several people, including you and Runkle on X. So I wanted to get this before, while Ian was still here. My cousin is in dire straits, special needs, can't use Meta's hacked account portal, illicit photos and doxing happening, need amplified. I don't know anything. I don't remember seeing anything of this kind. Did you remember seeing anything of this, Runkle?
I don't. You might be shadow banned if you've been tagging a bunch of people. That happens.
Yeah,
And
I don't know.
sadly, I can't really fix hacking, but I can. I can retweet something if it comes in, but I didn't see it. I'm afraid.
I will say this: at the start of the show, I was explaining how when I was getting a lot of pressure from Lady Lawgic to try and clean up my online image, and I had photos that were that she wanted gone. Like there's a picture of me smoking that was everywhere, which she was like, I don't want anyone who's looking and deciding whether or not they want their kid marrying mine. This is the first thing they see when they Google your name, see a picture of you with a cigarette dangling from your mouth. So
all they have to do is look at any stream of yours from a couple of years ago.
Yeah, because you always had
yeah, you know the picture? Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So yeah. So anyways, it's something that they I scrub from the internet. Like you can't. It's hard to find that picture now, and even though
now you just told everybody to go looking for
I'll
it.
put it back up, Joe.
No,
and profiles with it now.
I don't care. I don't care anymore. I'm unshackled now. Don't you get it? Don't you get it? I don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. Which reminds me, by the way, that ties into this over here. Sherry saying, "How many more kids
don't go tubing it?
Are getting married so I can budget?" Cheers. Thank you, Sherry, so much. I'll tell you right now. Like my next wedding isn't like foreseeably for like the next 5 years, which is why like the next in the line is my son who's 19, and boys don't tend to start dating till like 24 or so. So I'm looking at this and I was like, yeah, I can say whatever I want. I don't have to worry about it, and let him go scrap and figure out how he's going to get past that. I figure 5 years now. I don't have to worry about that now. So yeah, and I'm definitely gonna be like looking to see what money I can try and get to cover this wedding, but this is the last one for a while now. So
we need another Johnny Depp trial because Johnny Depp was so good to all of us. Oh my god!
But
but
especially to some.
Well, there are Trump trials, including the hearing tomorrow.
I will be
in Colorado.
I will be.
That's going to be televised, right?
Yeah, I plan on covering. I plan on covering that tomorrow. So yeah,
I'm too Canadian to cover that. My comment section will just be full of "Shut up, Canadian." So, and that'll be like whatever I say. Anything anybody disagrees with, it'll just be "Shut up, Canadian," and it'll like.
The Trump trial, everybody's going to want to watch.
Him a belt of ammo, Ian.
What's
the
that?
Georgia one is televised.
You can always just feed him a belt of ammo.
That is true. That might not be the best strategy. It might be the most effective, though.
I mean, virtually, of course.
Yeah. Anyway, those of you who were wondering, that's the picture that I'm talking about there. Which that's
looks great, Joe.
Oh, yeah.
That looks amazing. What an amazing picture.
Yeah, okay. I'll tell you right now, it's
that's
actually
when you
the
were
best
cool,
picture of me
Joe.
ever. That's back. Yeah, that's back in my wilder heydays when I used to hang out with Nick all the time. So,
matter of fact, when Trump goes to trial in Georgia, who's covering? I'm assuming everybody's
I'll
covering
cover
the
it.
trial, right? I'm assuming
When's the trial supposed to start? That's my question.
April?
March 4th.
Yeah, 9th.
Well, whoever's covering it, I'll jump on your panel because
I will cover it.
I created a channel called
Just
Trump
for it.
Trial
Wow.
just because I was like, the rain from that is going to be I think it'll blow away Depp. You know?
It's going to be a Johnny Depp.
Oh,
It's gonna be
yeah,
a Johnny
absolutely.
Depp, yeah.
That's why I'm going to start the channel called The Real Trump Trial.
There you go.
Oh my gosh, you bastard. So anyhow, oh sorry, what happened there? What happened?
What
there?
happened there?
Oh, there he is. Oh, there he is. Welcome back, Sean. How you doing? So yeah, did you guys, by the way, get a chance to look at that Chutkin decision where she denied, because there was a decision that just came out, which I was actually thinking, like, when I was nervous. I was like, I don't know if I'm going to end up having to wait like 45 minutes, an hour before anyone comes in here. So I might spend that time actually going through Judge Chutkin's denial of his motion to dismiss. Have any of you had a chance to actually look through that decision?
No, I have not.
I can only imagine she delivered a peach of jurisprudence.
She said there's no presidential immunity. So
I read that decision.
There's no
From the DC
presidential
Court of Appeals?
immunity.
For the DC Court of Appeals?
Yeah,
I actually read that decision. It was a much more narrow question.
Not the
Trump
Court of
was
Appeals.
asked.
I'm talking about Judge Chutkin's decision. Not
The district court decision. No, I haven't read that one yet.
Yeah, but what were you focusing on?
There was a decision where Trump was asking for immunity in a Jan 6 lawsuit that was filed by a couple members of Congress and some of the Capitol police officers, where he was arguing for immunity. because he was president, and he argued a fairly narrow ground. He argued that any speech he gave on a matter of public concern was necessarily categorically protected as a speech within the office of the President of the United States. And I thought the DC Court of Appeals did a very good analysis of why that isn't true. And
Why is that?
so, well,
He's the
because
orange man.
well, that's not what they said. They pointed out, and I think quite fairly, that, for example, things the president does for recampaigning wouldn't be inherently political, or would be inherently political, wouldn't be part of his office because it doesn't derive from the powers of his office. So, for example, if he appeared in a campaign ad, then presumably he's talking about matters of public concern, but it's not a role of his office or derives from office, so he can't have immunity from the office as a result of that speech. And similarly, if he gave a speech at a campaign rally or at his party's nomination, a similar analysis. I thought it was very persuasive.
Well, what about
We should
what if he
definitely
was to
prosecute
stand up
all
there?
the politicians running for re-election.
What if he was to stand up there though and say, "I'm not sure that this this election cycle was legitimate, and we need to look into this to make sure that everything was above board and honest." As the president of the United States, isn't that part of his duties?
But possibly, but that, see, as I mentioned, he was going on a categorical position that everything that would necessarily be, and so the Court of Appeals rejected it on that basis.
Okay,
this
so
is
they didn't. So
this
they
isn't
didn't argue.
categorically true.
Okay, so they didn't argue specifics. They were just painting with broad strokes to maybe potentially narrow the issues, and now they can go at it again.
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Hey, Joe, Mazel Tov. I'm going to go.
Thank you so
I got to
much.
get some sleep. I got a long ride on the motorcycle.
Thank you,
tomorrow.
brother. Good luck.
Hey,
at
gentlemen,
your show.
great seeing all of you. Ian, I'll see you in a couple days, I guess.
I appreciate you
And
stopping by, brother.
for everyone, Joe, congratulations. Great seeing all of you. And have a good night, everybody.
See you, Bronco.
Take care,
Have a
Andrew.
good night,
Take care.
Andrew.
Be careful out there on the range.
Yeah.
And there I was going to get him to go on some whole misogynistic thing, saying I don't have to worry about this stuff anymore. But
Speaking of which,
I'll
yeah,
just
where-
put his
Don't you have
his
any-
channel in the chat again.
yeah, don't you have any female YouTuber friends? I mean, what is this?
that's a whole different
We
issue.
can get Valhalla up here. He's close.
Oh my god.
That's seriously a whole different issue. No, it really is. It really is.
This YouTube game is, oh my god, it's so fucking crazy.
No, you see, okay, so I'll spell. I can spell that out like a little more clearly, and that is that like it's a matter of there's one is a matter of like my reputation in my community, which that I can basically say goodbye to that. I don't care about that anymore because I've never personally cared. Like
No,
my
that's
personality-
anyone who knows you and is a member of the community knows that.
that I'm like, I do not care what, if you like me, great. If you don't like me, that's really
There's nothing to not like about you, but you definitely scared people who didn't know you. Like there are
In
people
real
who just-
life or on
No,
on
in
YouTube?
real, people just think of him as a guy who like is going to go postal for some reason.
Well, I
I don't
can
know,
see
I don't know
that.
why. I don't know why.
As if like I've ever done that, like a single time in real life at anyone ever. But I guess like if you only
No, and in
see-
fact,
There's always a first.
some of the guys in our shul who are carrying are the least likely personalities
to
to
be
be doing
carried.
that.
Really?
But you know actually how you kind of want it.
But actually meeting Joe Runkle, like everybody at Alita's wedding, it's so it's refreshing to know that the people who you actually meet online are the same in real life. Like a lot of times it's a character, but Joe is like,
he's saying
Joe-
I'm postal.
yeah, I know, but I'm saying because you think, but it's like these are, you know, it shows you the authenticity that the person actually conveys to their audience.
Yeah,
And, you
but
know,
it's like, here's the thing though, like even when I'm like going nuts about some issue online, like I invariably will follow up with like, I don't think anyone, and I'll express how I genuinely don't think anyone should engage in any sort of physical confrontation, physical harm of anyone. And that when people are doing wrong, I want them exposed, embarrassed, and humiliated and held to account by a court, but not that any individual, because I think that would be like completely messed up. So the thought that I actually would do something to someone is so bizarre to me. But I can't deny the fact that even little kids, like when they see me, they're terrified of me. They really are. I had one of my nephews when he had a little girl. Like she would see me and just like scream in horror if I came in the room. Like she was just like I literally gave her nightmares. I'm very relieved that my grandsons don't seem to have that issue, but they seem to really love me. But yeah, you do, right?
I'm a big teddy bear, but yeah, kids don't necessarily run up to me either.
Maybe it's the beard. I think it's like the 2-colored beard is kind of scary.
Yeah, we throw people off.
Uh,
No, I think it's because I immediately engage in the Socratic method and try to teach them a lesson. Then my mind just goes straight there to like, I don't know. It goes back to like the whole like grave blanket thing when my niece wasn't participating. I was like, okay, let me tell you a story. And
let
like
me
an
tell you,
hour
if I
later,
was a kid and you told me, hey, let's do grave blankets, you'd be freaking me out also. I'd be like, what does that even mean? I don't want to go to some grave and put a blanket on it.
she's done it her entire life, and all of a sudden this year she doesn't want to. I don't know. It was just a thing.
But I will say this, even about even with my kids, one thing kids don't do anymore is just go outside and play. Just that act of going outside to play is like foreign to them. Like, what do you mean about going outside?
Well,
Really? Come
And
on.
a lot of this
What do
comes
you do
down to the
outside?
parents.
My next door neighbors are the weird ones, right? The weird ones. Their kids are always outside in the yard playing, running around with the dogs, playing with each other, jumping out. None of the other neighbor kids are outside playing, but yet they're the weird ones. I don't get that. Like all the other neighbors say that. I'm like, they're the coolest ones.
Just go run around, get in some trouble or something. But they don't know.
I would-
No.
So often it's the parents who are just freaked out. And I mean, every Halloween, we see like, not that many kids. And it's a lot of it's that parents are taking their kids to the mall. And, like going mall trick-or-treating.
I noticed we used to get trick-or-treaters. I don't get trick-or-treaters anymore. And we would give them tons of candy. And they just stopped coming one year. And
We got tons this year.
Yeah, we got tons of trick-or-treaters too. Matter of fact, they stole our bowl. They stole all the candy. It was like it got kind of crazy over here. Yeah.
Well,
But it was a lot
ours,
of the migrants though.
ours like
It was true. They were migrants were coming around like trick or treating. Like,
ours just started raining with like 15 minutes to go, and I just like the kids are walking by. I'm like, just take everything. One of these years I want to do something with like put a bowl of candy out there and then put a false bottom in it, like paper, and then put something unpleasant under that. Just for like, if you reach in and take a candy, you get a candy. If you take the bowl and tip it in, you get all the stuff that was buried at the bottom. And it's like, but it's like, where do I find bulk spiders?
I used to do a huge haunted house in my driveway every year, and the kids would come all over and then I stopped doing that. And now they don't come around anymore. But see, I stopped putting forth the effort, so that's my issue. But Halloween is the greatest of holidays, and I don't know why there's not as many kids getting around and doing it.
Do you guys dress up? Weird. Do you guys dress up?
I do if I'm doing something. If I'm doing something around the house, but sometimes we're not. Like this year, I just went out with my wife and had dinner and wandered around a little village. Actually, where Hogue Law is in Northville. I wandered around that city. They have a nice little event.
How is he doing? I haven't heard that name in a long time.
He's been streaming a little bit. He's been doing pretty well.
Yeah, I was on.
He's pretty much back to normal. It's very little. It's very little difference between before and after. He's doing really, really well.
I drive past his office every day. I'm on the way to my office, and I've never met him on stream or otherwise. I just he's there. I just went by.
Well, Joe, it's like this.
Mm-hmm.
It's a big relief. Joe, like you said, the pressure is off you for the foreseeable future. I can't believe that your wife is buying this line that it's going to be years again, so we have to worry about this. But
stop! I'm going to keep you away from her.
Listen, most men want me to be kept away from their wives, and there's no reason that you should be any different.
She wanted me to wait until the wedding before I took the shackles off. Like she's like maybe wait till the wedding, and I was like, nah, I'm good. I've held off long enough, and I'm like, look, his father like really loves me. Like he's a huge fan of my work and like what I do here. So I'm like,
that's amazing.
Isn't
that's
that
good? That's good. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah, like he's like when he was introduced to me, like he's a massive fan, and yeah, and the guy seems like really crazy about my daughter, which means he has a brain. So,
are they in chat?
I'm sure. I don't know if my future. We call him a chutin. I don't know. There's no English term, is there, for a chutin, Ron?
we had this discussion, right? I've said it's like in-law, but no, there's not for that
relationship.
Right.
My daughter's future father-in-law. There's nowhere in English for my daughter's future father-in-law, right? In Hebrew, in Yiddish.
Really.
No, you got to take a whole sentence.
Yeah. Yeah. So I guess my son-in-law's parents, yeah. So they
halfway father-in-law.
I don't know what you call him. But
no,
so
I got to say,
he's really cool.
my child's father-in-law.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, so yes, my kid's father-in-law seems to really like me, which I don't know how I managed to work that magic, but thank God for that. And I'm like, I'm just like, I'm
come
not
on, Joe,
worried
you're a
about
good guy.
Doesn't that like make him your
Yeah.
brother though? If you're both fathers, okay, all right.
What?
Just trying to play
Brother-in-law?
Well, because you're the
does that
father and he's
mean?
the father. That makes them both brothers.
No.
Those are brothers.
Okay. Can we? Okay. I want to. Okay. So now
Kurt, your
rolling
grandfathers
into
were
a
not
topic here.
brothers.
Yeah, your grandfathers are not brothers. Otherwise, you're.
I mean, maybe.
Well, they didn't-
I mean, I know you came from the South, but it doesn't mean that had to be true. He's got the family wreath.
I've got a lot of flack because I'm sufficiently honest to admit that it's not the same thing. With a lot of people, like when they have a son-in-law or brother-in-law or whatever, that they refer to them as their son or brother or whatever. And I'm like, that's just not true. That's just
is that
And
weird to you? I feel like that's weird.
That is weird, and it's very
Yeah.
common in our community. You're right, Joe. And I never really got I never got used to that. People like they consider the marriage to basically make your wife like your sister.
Right. Yeah, exactly.
Oh, wow.
So it's like all of a sudden that's like you even made reference to it earlier when you said he's got all these new uncles. And it's like
Right.
he doesn't really have all these new uncles.
No, he
just married a woman who's got a ton of uncles.
On the one hand, he doesn't, but like he's gonna say, Uncle Mendy, Uncle Moy, that's
this, uncle that.
But also, it is weird when you think about it, and those of us who are marrying kids off, as we are, relatives by marriage really are kind of. I mean, there is really a real. And once that marriage produces children, your in-laws really are related to you. Just
you're locked in.
not only you're locked in, listen, you're locked in, that's for sure. But I mean, you now have you have common relatives, your grandchildren.
Right.
That's really cool. That's really, you think about that.
So here's my response to that, because I've got, like, even my wife gets mad at me about this. Everyone in my family gets mad at me that I refuse to engage in this charade that my son-in-law is my son, or whatever, or that my brother-in-law is my brother. Here's my perspective on it. I don't know. It's like I can say that this is my son, this is my daughter, and that when I refer to someone as being my son-in-law, it's like that's a term of endearment too. It's not the same thing. You don't have to actually have come from my loins in order for me to care about you, love you, or treat you like in a special way. I happen to have
it's because it's your daughter de jure, not your daughter de facto.
Ooh.
Yeah.
Okay.
Wow, that's pretty heavy lifting there.
That was actually pretty good. But my point is, doesn't make him a lesser. Quite the contrary. Right now, currently, I have one son-in-law. I'm looking at bringing in a second son-in-law, and I'll tell you right now, my first son-in-law, he's awesome. I love him. He's great. I want him to have only happiness and amazing things ever happen to him. But that doesn't mean he's my son. And I think, and for me to basically say I can give him like 1A treatment, but for me to say, oh yeah, like I have now a new son now that my daughter is getting married, I think that it's so disingenuous.
White people's problems. Okay,
yes.
Joe. I mean, you're getting awfully agitated here.
I've got a lot of.
He's not my son.
He has thoughts and opinions.
I'm not saying he's not. I'm not screaming like, oh, you're. I'm simply saying I'm not accepting a label that is an untrue label just for the purposes of accommodating family.
That's why you don't practice law.
I have a question, Joe.
So speaking of son-in-laws, Joe, I got a question for you. My daughter is 18. She's not dating anybody. She's not getting married anytime soon. But
Oh, right.
I am. Well, I mean, she might be. I guess. I'd like to pretend I know what's going on in her life.
He already said his son's not going to date until he's like 24.
No, but my question is that first daughter that got married, how was that with the son-in-law? Because I feel like I'm not going to like the guy. I'm concerned I'm not going to like the guy.
Right. Okay. So I'll tell you this much: there's a difference between looking at a son-in-law versus a daughter-in-law, and this is probably more of a cultural thing. To be fair with you, but I don't think it's as much a Jewish, Ortho-Jewish, unique type of thing. And I think this is probably more generic than than I would tend to assume it is. But I sort of look at it like this. Okay, so my daughter-in-law, I'm expecting they're going to be having children and raising a family, which means that my daughter-in-law is going to be the primary caregiver to my grandchildren, which means that I'm looking at a potential daughter-in-law. There's so many qualities that I'm looking for that I'm hoping that my son is going to find in that woman, where she will have the capacity to have common sense and strength and insight and patience and so many different qualities that I'm looking for from that woman, which frankly, right now I have one daughter-in-law who she meets all these yardsticks in spades. She's a remarkable young woman, amazing woman. And that's what I'm looking for in a daughter-in-law. And when it comes to me looking at a potential son-in-law, all I really care about is just one thing, and that is keep my daughter freaking happy. That's it. If you keep my daughter happy, that's it. That's all I want from you. Just if she's happy, that's all I care about. It's such a different perspective as to how I look at a potential daughter-in-law versus a potential son-in-law.
How the hell are you supposed to keep a woman happy?
Oh, okay. That's. My daughters happen to be low maintenance. They're very low maintenance. So in that sense,
Yeah, you see, right? You see, I married a heart surgeon's daughter. Okay, so
yeah. So okay, all right.
I can't even prescribe, much less maintain her in the custom to which she became, the manner in which she became accustomed before meeting me. At least, they needed antibiotics in her house. They got antibiotics.
So what I'll tell you, this is what I'll tell you, David, as far as an answer to your question. If she manages to find a guy who can keep her happy, what else do you want from the dude?
Well, I guess, that's probably the best answer. I just
all right, so I'll play devil's advocate.
I would be worried that you wouldn't, right?
I'll help you with this, Dave, because there are several answers to Joe. First of all, the kid came to you and said, Dad, I've just joined the Harvey Kirshner cult, okay? And I'm really happy. I've never been so happy in my life. Okay? And you say, no. What do you mean he's happy? Okay. A. And B, at what age do we trust them to decide what's going to make them happy?
But that's on you as a parent failing to actually teach your own kid well. That they're basically susceptible to that, right?
Yeah, okay. So, and yeah, we're good. Very good. Nice point. Now, they came up to me and said, I want you to meet Spike. We're going to get married in Las Vegas tomorrow after, we're taking the red eye. And we're going to be, and he makes me so every time he hits me with a roundhouse,
oh my God,
it makes me so happy. That's the kind of man. I'm playing devil's advocate here.
That's what I'm concerned about.
No. That's really your question, David. That's why I'm helping you out here. Because you can't rely on Joe.
No, because you're basically saying, so now you're describing him having a daughter, which I assume he doesn't have a daughter like this, who's looking to be in an abusive relationship, or has such lack of insight as to the nature of a guy who's likely to be abusive, that she's going to happily walk into that type of situation. Which, frankly, here's the real answer. So therefore, Joe, that's the real answer. Do you trust your daughter? Have you raised her in a way that enables you to trust her? And I'm sure the answer is yes. Just as Joe knows that his daughters are going to be happy for the right reasons, for healthy reasons,
and that's why he knows that they're going to choose great guys. And speaking of great guys, it's been great talking to you guys. I better get home, or I'm not going to have any more.
I'll tell again, my brother.
Okay, good night, guys.
Have a good one, man.
Thank you. Have a good one.
Actually, this is as good as time I need to also take my leave because I'm beginning to fade out. So I think I'll get some sleep.
Roll on out,
It's
brother.
almost 10
Thank you
o'clock.
so much.
All right.
I appreciate it.
I love you guys. Talk to you later. Bye-bye.
I appreciate it. Take care, brother. I want to hit up real quick over here. Doug, who sent me rum around $50. Thank you so much. I think Doug is my head mod.
How is it? How are the CPMs over there at Rumble? Because Rumble, like all like I get millions of views over here on YouTube, and I'm getting crazy money. But then on Rumble, like the most I've made is $7 lifetime on Rumble.
I was gonna say I got 30 cents.
Every 2 years,
$3 Rumble.
Every 2 years, when I have to fill out the New York forms as far as what pro bono work I do, I say Rumble.
Oh my god, yeah, because I'm assuming that, like I see everybody's moving over there, but it's like literally I got videos making millions of views in lifetime on Rumble, $7 freaking bucks. Like,
no way, really?
Yeah, you see how my videos do? I do 8 million views a month on YouTube, but those same videos go to Rumble and Rumble lifetime. I've only made $7 lifetime, the whole lifetime on the Rumble channel, and all my videos go to Rumble too.
How many subs do you have on Rumble?
I think I got like 2,000-3,000 or something like that.
No, so that's why you're not getting any views there. So
I don't know.
I mean, I'm not going to kid you. My subs don't grow on Rumble either. I've been between 8,000 and 9,000 for the last year on Rumble. I don't know.
Every video here simultaneously, like when I post one to YouTube, it goes to Rumble as well.
Mm-hmm.
It's just there's no growth.
I always forget to post on Rumble because I'm setting up a stream for this Friday. By the way, can I plug my Friday stream for Zechariah Anderson?
Of course.
We're doing A&E. If you guys don't know the Zechariah Anderson case, it was the first trial that I streamed. I think he was wrongfully convicted. We're doing a little bit of a fundraiser for his defense, and A&E is running a story about him. And I think that they got probably everything wrong. I haven't even seen it yet. But we're going to stream it both live on YouTube for a bit and then Rumble only once the show starts.
You're going to get struck.
Well, on YouTube I'm going to, but not Rumble, I don't think. I did sort of a test run, and I lasted 8 minutes on YouTube on Friday.
Did you really?
Yeah, I lasted a whole 8 minutes, but Rumble was good.
Oh, if you did a test run, they may actually issue a strike instead of just a takedown.
Well, I ran it private.
Yeah,
and then I deleted it. But
deleting it doesn't help.
Locals, yeah. The only way you could do it is locals. Rumble.
Well, anyways, we're gonna try. We're gonna see how it goes. But so we're at least gonna talk about the case, and we're gonna try to do some fundraising. It's gonna be 8:00. But the point that made me bring that up is I wanted to link the Rumble stream to that. I can't do it more than 24 hours or in advance, so I have to wait and then do it. And that's what's so frustrating with me about Rumble is I tend to I have 3 streams up on YouTube ready to go, coming up in the future, and I can't set them up for Rumble. I got to remember to do it right then and there, and I always forget. So I never stream live to Rumble.
Do you use StreamYard? Because you can set it up on StreamYard where when you start the stream, you could just start the stream on Rumble and all that stuff too. So.
Yeah, but I have to set up the
StreamYard. You can't preset to Rumble.
You can't.
Let's go through the whole RTMP thing with Rumble.
Yeah, RTMP. Right. Yeah, I have to do that. And you can only set that up more than 24 hours in advance and only one at a time anyways.
Oh, Rumble, they make it so hard then.
They do. They make it a pain.
The other thing they do is they make it impossible for people to hit the like button on Rumble. It's like they actually have like a thumbtack that they stick out of your phone that if you press the thing, your thumb bleeds. And that's why I'll have hundreds of people watching me and 12 likes on Rumble. It's because I'm I appreciate those 12 likes because I'm oh my gosh, you must have an ingrown thumbnail now from pressing that down because they make it so impossible for anyone to actually help you in the algorithm.
They got to do something over there at Rumble. It's just bad. They got to get an algorithm. But it's great for live streamers because I see Nick and Viva. They do great over on Rumble. But
yeah, because they have contracts.
But they have to. They still have to set up one at a time individually. I don't care what your platform you're streaming from. If you're using StreamYard or Streamlabs or whatever you're doing or OBS, you still have to go in and set up all that stuff. I know they're running a beta test of their own sort of streaming software, but you can't then link it to YouTube very easily either. So it's a pain. It's just.
I mean, if Rumble wants to give me a 6-figure contract to stream there, then
God bless. Yeah, I'm with you also.
I'll be all over Rumble, and then I can make my $7, and it's all right, 100,007, cool. But
I have a friend that did 40,000 views on YouTube. Happened to have one video do 40,000 views on YouTube, 40,000 views on Rumble. On YouTube, it made them something like $700. On Rumble, it was $20. It was crazy. So I don't know. I don't know what they're doing over there.
Yeah, Rumble needs to figure out how to basically make sure that their creators are getting compensated in a way that's
Well,
similar.
they probably don't have the same ad revenue that YouTube does because they're a smaller platform with smaller viewers. That's probably the number one thing.
Yeah, but
The other annoying thing
that
is
doesn't
that
really
just
answer though.
because my videos come from Canada, my ad revenue is much reduced. So
Ooh.
yeah, Canadian eyeballs are worth a lot less than US eyeballs.
Interesting.
It's
Why
well, and then
I agree with that.
why are Canadian why are Canadians so cheap?
I don't know, but and then Justin Trudeau's basically trying to shut down YouTubing in Canada, so that's going to be fun.
Oh, that's tough.
How long are you going to stay there? Like, are you going to flee the way Viva did?
We'll have to see. I mean, my wife doesn't want to flee, but the government keeps trying to, make it.
You have to do Canadian content, don't you? No, like a certain percentage or something.
So what it is that they're going to, within Canada, they're going to require that Canadian content be pushed up in the algorithm, which of course means everything else gets pushed down. The problem is that the criteria for what gets you declared Canadian content is basically completely unworkable unless you're like a legacy media, sort of thing, because you have to apply in advance, like 2 weeks in advance, unless you're a registered news organization, which of course I'm not. So, like a story of something that just broke, you wait 2 weeks, that story, nobody cares anymore. So, at that point, I'm either getting pushed down in the algorithm because I posted too soon, or nobody cares because I posted too late. But in order to do it, you need to have like a staff, because you need to have like a director, a producer, a lead actor, a secondary actor, a music director. You also have to account for all of your expenditures, and a majority of those, like a certain percentage, has to be Canadian. Well, my expenses aren't a whole lot, but the things that are my expenses are things like paying for StreamYard, paying for, Adobe's suite, paying for Envato Elements. And all of these are like US companies or Australian companies. So basically, even though I'm a Canadian filming in Canada, like this is Canada right here, doing stuff about Canadian law, like I've got a video that's going to be coming out about a case that's from Ontario, it's still not Canadian enough. Whereas, we're going to get lots of reruns of like Corner Gas and stuff.
Maybe you
like
need
that.
to put a Canadian flag behind you or something. Maybe that would help.
Yeah.
Still won't help. It's just, it's really designed. Well, what it's designed to do, and this is what they're not really announcing, is that the government doesn't like people like myself and various other people who might be critical of them.
They don't like independent content creators.
Yeah, they've had tremendous control over the media. And like they're paying huge money right now to the media, just gobs and gobs of money that they're throwing their way. So they want those to be the official voices, and those groups are also unhappy about how much eyeball time they're losing to YouTube, because a lot of people are not so keen on watching, various things on TV anymore. They want to go and watch it on YouTube, because, for instance, if you want to learn about a trial, you can look at a journalist who's never been to law school and doesn't know the first thing about the trial, or you can go and find lawyers who actually know what they're talking about and can comment on it reasonably and so forth. So it's really about shutting down independent creators. And
well, when your entire platform is rooted in fiction, it's not like you're looking for truth sayers out there to like basically exposing what the truth is, right? I mean, that's just the reality of it. You'd much rather have controlled narrative that you can control and push that forward in the algorithm. That's essentially what you're describing.
Yep. And I may end up locked in a constitutional battle with the government. Like I might end up having to sue them over this policy to say, hey, this isn't reasonable. Like this is violating my right to freedom of speech, because, which we call freedom of expression here in Canada, because
you don't really have freedom
your policy is suppressing me.
It sounds very socialist of them. I'm proud of them. They're doing the Lord's work.
while I have you guys here and you just brought up freedom of speech, I want to ask you a question because this is something I did a stream about a couple of nights ago, and I was actually fixating on this. And this was in the wake of Montana issuing a decision saying that the government, Montana, cannot ban TikTok in the state. And they're breaking down freedom of speech and addressing standing of different parties who are bringing the suit, whether it's TikTok itself or content creators on TikTok and things of that nature. And part of what it led me to start dissecting is a concept of freedom to hear, which I was like saying, okay, let's say TikTok is not, let's assume TikTok was actually situated in China. And I know it's not, okay, but let's say it was actually situated in China and all the content creators were not American. And I was basically asking this question, and that is, do you think that we as Americans have a freedom to hear, to have access, to be able to learn from people who don't have an inherent American freedom of speech protection? So if I talk to you now and the government were to stop you from hearing me, that would be violating my freedom of speech. But if I'm not from America, I'm from China or France or anywhere outside America, and I'm not situated inside the country proper, and I'm talking to you, and America doesn't have to respect my freedom of speech rights, do you have freedom of speech rights that attach as the listener, that thereby enable you to say the government cannot just squash your right to access purely as a listener because you have a right to hear content, unless the government, unless there's some sort of crazy sort of area that the government in general is allowed to control free speech, like incitement or things of that nature.
But see, you're getting over to international borders and things of that nature, because there's been so many cases where the government's power is at its maximum whenever anything crosses the international border. So there's been a lot of cases where people have been searched, and what they could, like if you have a foreign national trying to come across the border, they could be searched. There's like so many of those fundamental rights that we have, that we enjoy, that you don't have crossing that border. So now you're talking about.
So I'm talking about.
But with that though, do you think that the U.S. government or a state government can ban the importation of a book from another country because they control the borders?
Yes, I think if the government, if something is coming, like if there's books in China and they say we have an embargo from everything from China, even those books, yes, I believe they can ban those books.
But what about
we don't want these books. Yes.
What about this argument, which is the purpose behind freedom of speech, or at least one of the stated purposes of freedom of speech, is that through free expression, you as the listener learn more. You have access to truth. You're more able to glean truth from fiction by having access to more sources of information. Therefore, your freedom of speech rights enable you to be protected from the government stopping you from being able to learn, even if that source is from outside of the country.
I understand the argument, but I just don't think I don't think with the jurisprudence that we have now, I just don't think it would work, because the right's going to attach. They're going to say the person in China doesn't have the right to speak, and then you can say I have the right to listen to them, but then the government can say, if that person was here in the United States, yes, but since that person's overseas, they have that. That's where their power is at the maximum to stop foreign influence.
But what do you
Fiverr, for instance? Fiverr.
Well, we talked about this on Laid Back News, and I feel like does the First Amendment protect your right to hear or see or read something? And I think it does. And in fact, I put a link in the private chat to a case from 1982, Board of Education. This is a U.S. Supreme Court case, Island Trees Union Free School District. And that particular case was about banning a book in a certain school district. And the U.S. Supreme Court came down and said that, the question was, did the Board of Education's decision to ban this book violate the First Amendment freedom of speech protections? And the Supreme Court said yes.
Interesting.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
That's 1982. So the right to hear, as you phrased it, I would say is covered by the First Amendment.
Do we think that the government could, for instance, ban 1984 because Orwell was British and therefore doesn't enjoy U.S. rights?
Well, I would say I think there's a distinction here. If the book is already here, if it's here and you have this thing, that's one thing. I'm thinking Joe is saying someone is actually in a foreign country trying to send a message across the border. So those books. So if the book is already here, I think that's a different animal, because
Why?
now you have a free speech, because you're talking about things that are within the jurisdiction of the United States. That I think is it's a Yik-Wo issue. Yik-Wo is if, for instance, even foreign nationals have constitutional rights if they're here in the United States. It's Yik-Wo. But I'm saying if you're talking about somebody in China trying to say, I want to send a book to the United States, then I think the government may have authority to say, no, we don't want that book here. Because that's where I'm thinking you're talking about. You're not talking about the book is here. You're saying the book is in China.
No,
The
what I'm
person's
saying
I
is
want
that-
to give it to the person in America, and they have a right to hear it.
Because I'll tell you right now, in the past, I've been trying to think like when the Ninth Amendment unenumerated rights, like what that's referring to, because it's very hard to think like what that's give an example of that. And I actually think that this probably falls as an unenumerated right. I don't think it's really freedom of speech, because freedom of speech is there's Thomas Jefferson laid out multiple bases as to why it is that we need freedom of speech. One of them is to learn truth. Another is so we can petition the government without fear of repercussion. So I don't need to have access to information in order to be able to have the capacity to petition my government. And that's why I don't think that freedom of speech, I think our protections for freedom of speech must be much more robust than our freedom to hear. But I do think that there's an essence of freedom to hear that's laced into freedom of speech, and that's likely an unenumerated right under the Ninth Amendment, and it should get those protections rather than the strong than the robust First Amendment protections of freedom of speech.
Joe,
That's what I've come to.
So you're going to run it through the Palco test, right? Because that's what you're talking about, the Palco test.
I mean, as far as establishing what's an unenumerated, I mean,
yeah, that's the test they use to establish the unenumerated right. We went through this with Roe versus Wade. Roe versus Wade, they went through the Palco test, it failed, so they, so you're talking about sending it through the Palco test.
I mean, that's actually not a bad idea. I mean, let me pull up Palco and run
Palco
through
v.
those
Connecticut.
elements.
That's the Palco. Yes, the Palco test. Because that's how they overturned Wade.
Right?
That's how they overturned Roe v. Wade. They said if it failed Palco, so since it failed Palco, it's no good.
Do you remember the elements of the Palco test?
Yeah, I got them. I'll pull them up.
And while you do that, I should head out. I got to still pack. So
Later, my brother. Thank you so much for popping by. I really appreciate it.
Oh, and congratulations! It's I always want to be there to help celebrate the happy days. So
you're awesome. I really appreciate you, brother. Thank you so
you,
much.
Uncle.
I'll see you soon, brother.
See you soon.
Cheers.
All right, so the Palco.
I'm gonna pull up a couple of super chats while you grab that. Okay, Muzzle Pepper or something like that. Congratulations, thank you so much. Miles to
ZZ Top. That's like they're like, yeah, these Jewish guys like ZZ Top or something.
Houston's bizarre no zoning laws went there once and found an adult entertainment bar around the corner from elementary school named the Toy Box. That's really messed up. Sorry, I'm late. Just got done at Casa Bonita. I'm not sure what that is.
Oh, Casa Bonita. That's it's like the coolest Mexican restaurant ever. It's in Colorado. Yeah. They talked about in South Park, and the guys who they went to it as kids, and it had all kinds of crazy stuff at it. It closed down and it kind of fell apart. They've since spent the money and like rebuilt it and reopened it.
Oh, cool.
Yeah, it's actually pretty neat.
All right. Aaron Hacks is great stream today, Joe. I like Daytime Joe once again. Sound the horn. Allegan News says, but Senator Warren gets immunity for Covington kids. Of course she does. And Belle Feinstein says, trunk or treat, where kids go from car to car where parents can see all, is the new thing for Halloween. I didn't know that.
It is.
Allegan says, compare and contrast speech and debate extending outside Congress for immunity with E. Warren Covington kids, but Trump's speech, no immunity. Yeah, it is
That's the Westfall Act.
Yeah, it's just yeah.
Prospering Woman says, generally, if a girl is really close to her father, she'll marry someone with many of the same qualities. If they aren't, it goes south fast. I agree with that. I can't believe how vocal Ian is tonight. Give the other guests a chance to talk, Runkle. Jeez. Nicole Marie says, YouTube platform is way more user-friendly. I like Rumble for Trump rallies, but that's about it. Lily Smith, congrats, Joe. Love you. Thank you so much. R-Dub saying, OMG! Alive with many of my favorite folks. So happy I caught this. I'm so glad you did too. Thank you. Allegan says, does the internet have defined borders? I don't think it does. But Russ 10 says, as soon as you're off the leash, you're drinking on a Tuesday.
What was that about defined borders?
Meaning like where I was talking about, like whether something comes in from out of the country.
Oh, no. I mean, generally not.
All right.
It depends on the situation, but sometimes it might.
Houston has no zoning laws.
Rest Town says as soon as you're off a leash, you're drinking on a Tuesday. It's a party. Come on. Sherry Lawless says Casa Bonita is gross. Allegan News says Houston has no zoning laws. It's wonderful. And Rivka the Gaming.
Is that really true, Nate?
Yes, it has no zoning laws.
It saves you from having a zoning board, that's for sure.
Well,
What, that's not a good thing?
Well, I mean, people okay, zoning laws are, like overall the government telling you what to do with your property are bad, but it also keeps your neighbor from starting like a concrete factory or having his collection of Trans Ams that he's totally going to
nuisance laws.
Yeah.
Well, sometimes nuisance laws, but yeah.
They have roller coasters next to houses. Yes, Houston is famous for no zoning laws.
That's crazy. And Rivka the J Gamer says, I'm an old maid, wish I sought a shotgun 20 years ago. That's a matchmaker. And wish my parents had pushed for it. Many kids are a blessing. May your children have full quivers. Thank you. Thank you very much. It's very warm, which is I hope you find joy as well. All right. So you would bring up the Palco test, Nate?
Yeah, I'm sharing it. I'm sharing it.
All right.
So
Yep.
So everybody knows how it works. If the right is written in the Constitution, it's enumerated, then they just look to the thing. If it's an unwritten right, they look to the 9th Amendment and use the Palco test. Here's the Palco test. The principles so rooted. These are elements, so it just satisfy either one. Number one, the principle is so rooted in the traditions and conscience of our people to be ranked as fundamental. And that looks at the historical perspective.
Mm-hmm.
And you make an argument that the founders and blah, 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 that type of thing. And then you have part two, which is implicit in the concept of order, liberty, necessity necessary to exercise an enumerated right. So, for instance, that comes with the right to privacy sometimes. I think they make a Fourth Amendment argument that the right against unreasonable searches and seizures implicitly gives you the right to privacy. So if the government didn't give you the right to privacy, then it kind of weakens the Fourth Amendment. So that's implicit in. So the right to privacy is actually, since it's not enumerated, you find it through the Palco test in the Fourth Amendment. So now, if you're talking about the right to,
if we apply this to freedom to hear or
I
listen,
think you're talking about number two.
I think it meets both of these.
Is it interesting that we're citing this case from 1937, and this case actually upheld the conviction of an individual who was originally acquitted on first-degree murder, but then they appealed and they tried him again and got a conviction, and it was about double jeopardy. And the U.S. Supreme Court said, double jeopardy doesn't apply to Connecticut.
Are you talking about the guy who mailed in the letter saying, here's how I actually did it?
I don't know about that. All I know is that
you're saying they retried him. Sorry.
Oh yeah, they retried him.
Yeah,
after the appeal.
Actually, part of the Palco decision, part of the holding was overturned, but the Palco test is essentially what they use to if they have an unenumerated right. This is actually cited in the latest Roe v. Wade case. Alito, he cited in Dobbs. He literally cites Roe v. Wade. I mean, the Palco test. Here it is.
Okay.
He cites it. So that's Palco for. So he cites Palco as his reasoning for the unenumerated right in the opinion of the court.
Interesting.
Okay. Yeah. So it's still the test is still good law. Oops.
And Palco overturned it chipped away at the slaughterhouse cases.
Yes.
And it also said like, well, we're going to kind of pick and choose which Bill of Rights apply to the states and which don't, too. It was a weird case, but at least this test came out of it.
But here is the from Dobbs. Here's the right among those was so fundamental principle, order, liberty, justice, lie, debate. So this is what they use because in Roe, they said that the right to have an abortion was fundamental. And it was, but then that's when Alito said, well, that's BS, because when you go back to that time, most states had laws against the practice of abortion. So it couldn't have passed the Palco test to be so fundamental. And this is kind of what the reasoning he used to overrule it.
So I'm going to ask you sage legal minds, whether you think that the freedom to hear would pass the Palco test.
I'm going to say yes. And for the same reasons why I said so on the on Laidback News is what is the point of the press if you can't read the paper, right? You can print all the papers you want, but I'm not allowed to read it. I feel like that is, and I know you switched it to, well, isn't that really the newspaper publisher's right that you're enforcing? And I would say no, it's my right as a reader to
I
also
have the right to knowledge as a human being.
yeah. And so, and in fact, the lovely president behind me, Jefferson, would argue the exact same thing. I mean, he's the one that pushed heavily for people to be educated so that they can read and can avail themselves to this knowledge and this information.
But would this get strict scrutiny or intermediate scrutiny, like something that would be an unenumerated right?
Oh, that's okay. That's a good question.
Well, it would have to be found to be a fundamental right, then it would get strict scrutiny. If it's found to be a fundamental right,
if it was found to be, so you're saying if it passes as an unenumerated right, it gets strict scrutiny, just like the First Amendment would.
It would be yes.
Oh, I was unaware of that.
It's like the right to privacy. Right to privacy when it was found to be.
But even under the strict scrutiny test, it could still be limited if it was, say, national security or things like that.
So you're talking. So then you go back to, do you have a right to hear something? Because then you have the propaganda argument. You know, you have another country that's new propaganda. You know, that's now force feeding propaganda. Can the country then say we don't want that? Then do you have the right to hear that? Do you have the right? Do they have the right to stop that?
I still think in our particular nation, it would be really hard for the government to argue that other countries' propaganda, even if it's anti-U.S. propaganda, shouldn't be something that we could read or be exposed to. I still feel like that would be a really hard test to pass.
I mean, maybe not. I mean, you might be able to argue with the sovereign controlling what comes in and out, because that's ultimately your, going back to like the Westphalian governance model. But yes, I do think you have a fundamental right to learn and discover, because otherwise, the freedom of speech, and the freedom of press, the freedom of all of that is built upon your knowledge and learning. And, that's the, I mean, going back to just philosophy itself, like the pursuit of knowledge. I mean, you'd be hard pressed to claim that that's not a historically rooted right that goes through. I mean, it goes all the way back to Samaria.
But okay, so here's my.
I
question.
mean, I don't know, unless I sound like a retard and you guys are all quiet. So
no,
it's
not quiet out of respect for your retardedness. But
thank you.
No, I'm just a little confused here. If you're correct, Nate, that an unenumerated right would be something that would give you a strict scrutiny protection, why is it that someone would have and a court would sit there trying to figure out standing on this issue, as far as trying to establish whether or not TikTok has to, who can sue about TikTok being silenced, when obviously they are, by limiting Montanans' access to TikTok, they are limiting their access to, well, we'll call it art or information or something like that is being provided on TikTok. Should any Montanan not have an established right as their right to access, that the government can only step in front of that if they can pass a standard of strict scrutiny?
But the thing is that, all right, so I think you're putting the cart before the horse. To get to the standard of strict scrutiny, you have to then have shown that has passed the Palco test. In other words, this is a fundamental right implicit in this. Yeah. And you haven't established that yet. That the court, and when the court establishes that, then you're at strict scrutiny.
That's a fair response. All right, what was your retarded comment a minute ago, Sean? That everyone was zoned out on when you were talking. Do you want to say it again? You want to give it to us again? Yes, because I'm sure it was very insightful, and I don't want to miss out on it in case anyone else No, seriously, brother. I really was zoning out as I was.
Okay, I mean, it goes back through our, as humans, we have this, philosophical, all the way back through philosophy. It's the pursuit of knowledge and trying to figure out who we are, what we are, learning. That's, to argue that's not a fundamental human right, I mean, defies the past, 5,000 years of mankind progressing as a species.
Yeah, that's true.
Go back even further, maybe, sure, but documented history, what we've learned, how we do things. And to say people aren't allowed to learn this thing or see this thing, like denying somebody a book, that's denying them knowledge.
Well, and I would take it even a step further than what you're saying and say that inherently one of the distinctions between man and the rest of the mammalian society is that we are continually striving for greater personal growth.
Sure.
And the personal growth obviously can only come through learning. So that it's inherent to who we are. It's inherent to humanity that we are going to try and grow and learn. And anything that's inhibiting that is something that is an offense to mankind.
And we couldn't have those inalienable rights that have been endowed into us without that. I mean,
that's
to
part
have
of our
all those
humanity.
rights with what's that?
That's part of our humanity.
To have all those rights without any knowledge wouldn't work.
But even though I do think philosophically, I do agree with what you guys are saying. But then I think when it comes to, because now the issue here that I think buttresses this conversation is the sovereign immunity of the United States in terms of what they allow in, because there's a difference from what's in versus what's out. And if the situation is TikTok is out, and can the country say we don't want to let that in?
Oh, I agree.
And I think that's if that's the issue, then your fundamental right, because just like if I go to China, I don't have a fundamental right to I don't have freedom of speech in China. They're doing it, but if I'm here in the United States, that's a different thing. So now the issue is
second,
that,
Nate. I want to ask you a question.
Change it.
Well, Nate, no. I was going to say, Nate, I agree with you, and I kind of was going through that. The idea the sovereign controls their borders.
Yeah,
and and to argue that a sovereign can't, well, you basically upset the past 450 years of governance we've used that's defined international relations. So yeah, there's
okay.
There.
I want to ask you this. Based on our sovereignty, Nate, I'll ask you this question. Assume 200 years ago in the 1820s, a boat docks in New York and it's a cargo boat that's filled with nothing but books in a foreign language. Which locals can't read, but obviously various Americans who are familiar with the language will be able to read. Do you think that because America is a sovereign place, that they have a legal right there to basically tell that boat, go back to where you came from, we're not letting you in here, we're not letting these books in here?
Yes, absolutely do. Yes,
you have the right to control trade in and out of your country.
But is it the books, or is it the information contained in the books, or is it the book themselves?
It could be the books. It could be the information on them. That when it gets to when you get to the idea of what you're allowing in or out, that sovereign power, that's some of those ultimate because I said so.
Yeah.
Like, why are we making?
Even if they have no reason at all, they have no justification. It's something innocuous about.
Why?
That's the most powerful our government is when it's controlling the borders and what comes in and out.
That defines sovereignty.
Yes.
Yeah. The Westphalian system, a nation is defined. It's got borders. If you don't have borders and you can't enforce your borders, are you really a nation?
Okay.
So
even if those books are all about woodworking, it doesn't matter.
It could be because there's a typo on them.
Right. So if that's the case, by that logic, why, if TikTok were exclusively created outside of America and not created by Americans or associated with America, why could Montana not ban it? Why?
Because I think it's a different issue. You're talking states' rights versus the federal government's ability to control the border.
Yeah.
Really.
Oh, so you're saying because Montana is too small, but the federal government
if the federal government did it, yeah, I think the disastrous outcome post Civil War really took away the state's ability to do anything like that. So it's a national border. If the federal government tried to do it, I think everyone, what Sean is saying and Nate's saying is probably true. But it's not the federal government.
Yeah, we just had a case. We just had the case in Arizona. Remember when Arizona passed those laws about illegal immigration and things, and then they were sued by the federal government, and the Supreme Court came back and said, when it comes to the borders, the international borders, the federal government has total control. So they're the ones who can enforce it. They're the ones who say what comes in and comes out. The state doesn't. The state has some control over their borders, but the international border is the purview of the federal government. So even in that case, they overturned those state laws because they said that it impeded on the sovereign right of the federal government. And I would say with this Montana thing, you would have the government, if they chose to sue, would have that same argument. They're infringing on our rights to control international trade.
I assume that none of you read Judge Malloy's decision in that Montana case, which I actually went through.
I didn't.
Line by line.
I have not.
I know a few people did, but I will tell you this: that your intuition is correct, is at least consistent with what the court said there. Where he was very detailed in going through all the different legal arguments that he can come up with, and one of them was that this was beyond Montana's individual purview, and this is more a matter of federal question as far as the ability to limit TikTok. That's more a matter for the federal government to address, and that they're stepping outside their zone by claiming that the state, as an individual state, has a right to make a decision on this. And he had grave concerns about that. Right, there was a whole bunch of reasons he was denying the TRO or he was granting the TRO, stopping a state law going into effect, and that was part of it. As far as likelihood of success on the merits was that I don't understand how Montana individually has a right over here.
Matter of fact, I see even states even more limited, because when it comes to the federal government, you got the Commerce Clause, and between states. So even if you have interactions between states, then the Commerce Clause comes into it, and then you got the Dormer Commerce Clause. So the states are even more restricted when it comes to.
Well, yeah, that's true. There could be a TikTok creator in, say, Washington, and someone viewing it in Montana, right? And then we have an interstate commerce issue right then and there, even though the platform is technically hosted out of China.
Yeah, I mean that's true. Look, and he spent a great deal of time talking about standing, and he focused on how these
I hate standing arguments.
That's my point. And before, what's his face was talking about, and I was like, I can't stand these standing arguments, because to me, something is either justifiable or it's not. And just because, and focusing on who's bringing the claim rather than the justifiability of the argument is to me one of the most ways of attacking something.
Well,
but not anybody can sue for anything, though, right? I can't sue if you get hurt, Joe. I can't sue on your behalf, right? It's like standing is that fundamental. You know what I mean? You got to be in the right. Because standing is you got to be in the right court, got to be the right person in the court.
Well, okay, but you can get around it. You can get around it. In that particular example, is Nate? You have no damages, right? You need a duty, a breach of that duty, and damages, right? You're missing the damages and you're missing the duty, so your case is dismissed. You don't even need to go to standing.
But I don't disagree with you, Nate, but I think there's also times where it's clear the courts bring up standing as an excuse to punt on an issue. They can say, we don't have to get no standing, sorry.
That's why, but there's so many other ways out of it. That's why I don't like the standing issue.
Because, but again, standing because I know we say it, and probably this is for the benefit of the chat. It's literally the right person is suing in the right court, and that court can give you what you want. Those are essentially the three principles of standing. So,
but the fixation always is on the right person when you're talking about standing, as opposed to venue.
Yeah, can the right person sue?
The classic example is I, as a U.S. taxpayer, can't sue the federal government because of how they're spending their money and things like that, and
even though it's your tax dollars,
even though it's my tax dollars,
yes.
Right?
And that's when courts they distinguish things. Why is this different? Because we said so.
Because we
or
said
like
so.
Harmless error or harmless error. Sure, your rights are violated, but you're guilty anyway, so who cares?
Yeah, or the mootness argument, right?
Yes.
But sometimes they ignore it. Roe versus Wade, right? That case was moot. There was a lot of people don't realize there was a whole section on mootness because she already had the baby.
Yes.
The whole case was like this, what are we doing here? That was a big argument.
Well, and what was the case recently where they're like, people may have lied about the facts, and it's like, gee, I know another case where someone lied about the facts. Oh, in Roe. It's like.
I had a big
you didn't know that
issue with
Roe v. Wade. Yeah, she claimed like she was a victim of a grape, and it's like, nope, she just didn't want the kid. I was embarrassed about it.
But she had the baby though eventually.
Yeah,
right? So,
but it was still she had lied about the Roe versus Wade was entirely manufactured.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
I had a big mootness issue when I sued the governor back in April of 2020, and then they lifted most of the restrictions, and we out of the 8 we started with, there was only like 3 left, and they were arguing mootness, and I said, but they voluntarily stopped the restrictions, and they could easily just do it again. But they stopped, so it's moot now. It's like, really?
Oh, well, subsequent to that, I believe the Supreme Court in the case of Aguda basically they said that even though it's been lifted temporarily now, we're not going to deem it moot because it's very clear that
Yes,
the government at
they
any
can
time
do
could
it.
reinvoke
Yeah.
it.
That's what I argued, but the court has the option to say, yeah, but they're not, so it's moot. And then you're like, okay, but by the time they impose it again, and I bring another lawsuit, and then they lift the the restrictions, then
promised
it's
to,
moot again.
That's so
You almost you have to almost show like a track record, like they did it 3 times, Judge. Can we get the third one to stick?
Yeah. No, standing is a bitch. Standing is a bitch. I will admit that. It's and the courts, they can get you on standing. They're gonna get you on standing. That's look at all the Trump cases, right? Every case is, this is a perfect example of standing. Let's get it out of here. Well, even if and there was one case I forgot where they were like, well, even if he did win, even if Trump wins this state, he loses the election. So guess what? We can't give him the remedy he wants. No standing.
Exactly. It's their way of punting.
I was like,
and Michigan did it right. Michigan decentralized its elections. We have a Secretary of State in Lansing that's in charge of the whole state, but she doesn't run the elections. It's up to each county clerk to run the elections. So if you want to challenge the outcome in Michigan, you have to sue literally every clerk in every county and everything and challenge everything. Otherwise, you're not going to challenge an election. So Michigan found a way to basically say you can't sue us, or you can sue each individual county, and that's it. We have 82 counties or something. So have fun.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow.
That's how Trump lost in the Michigan case. Because he sued the Michigan Secretary of State.
Michigan? How do you stay? It's like so.
We got water. We got fresh water and no sharks. That's why I stay here.
I stay in Ohio because it's not New Jersey. How do you stay in New Jersey, Joe?
Nice.
Yeah.
Touche. Fair enough. Viola
I don't know how,
Pride.
Joe.
Viola Pride says, "Okay, now what about a U.S. citizen going to another country and bringing back said book? Can the government take that book away?" And
yes.
At the border, yes. At the border, yes. They can say yes, but this book is not allowed at the border.
Let's look at the Cleary Act. You can get in trouble for taking wildlife back.
Speaking of oh no, not the Cleary Act. I was thinking of the Logan Act. Did you guys see how Gavin Newsom was touting about how he's meeting with Justin Trudeau to establish policies? And I'm like, how is this not a violation of the Logan Act that they try going after Michael Flynn for? Like, I was actually very confused. It's such
that happens a lot though.
It's
yeah,
such
but
a
don't
weird
forget
thing.
he's also a sitting governor.
Yeah, but like, I mean, that happens like all the time. Cities will go talk to some company in another country saying, "Hey, bring your business here. Do work with the other country to try to set stuff up." I mean, it also because he's Gavin Newsom. I mean,
yeah,
go tell the DOJ, arrest that man.
And it's talked about Hunter's payments to Biden.
No, wait, when did that come up?
That came out this past week, right? Or just late last week, or whatever.
The car, or whatever.
Oh, I didn't
10%
see that.
to the big man, right?
10% of the big man's been going around for a long time, but you're saying
no, didn't they get a check or something that he got? And
regular checks, checks,
regular checks from Hunter to Joe.
From Hunter's, was it his company or was it from Hunter
something
himself?
Like that,
yeah, to Joe.
Yeah,
congressional. Who was it that just announced it? I can't remember who announced it. The congressional findings.
What were you saying there, Sean? About Pisco?
Your friend Pisco's been covering it on Twitter.
He?
Yeah.
Oh, I got to start looking into this. No one, see. It's not in ground news. It's not being covered in ground news. So how many checks have they found so far?
I don't know the details. I assumed you knew more than I did. I just heard about it.
No, now you see, to me, I don't really invest that much time looking into the whole Biden stuff because I know that whatever he ends up getting busted on, he's gonna get pardoned for. So it's like it's probably more fair to me a matter of politics than it is. I mean, it's interesting. Well, look, I don't really believe that Joe Biden's going to end up running in 24. I think someone else is going to end up running in his place, and I think that this is all a matter of how much egg can be thrown in his face beforehand. And I think that any crimes that they've committed, they're just going to get pardoned for, and he's going to just issue a broad pardon to himself and to his son. And
so Comer released direct monthly payments to Joe Biden from Hunter Biden's business entity. Let's see here. That was announced yesterday.
Wow.
following subpoenas to obtain Biden's family associate bank records. Chairman
Unbelievable.
Comer issued subpoenas for Hunter. Yeah, he made the announcement yesterday.
So
Let's
does my
see
friend
here.
Pisco finally admit that the Bidens are corrupt, or is
No, he keeps
$24 million between 2015 and 2019.
Wow.
He keeps acting like it's no big deal.
Oh, yeah, Biden. If you don't know Biden's corrupt, then you just have some.
What?
So let's see.
Why
We
not?
have phone calls, regular phone calls with the
Mhm.
sitting VP. We have $24 million exchanging hands. We have Ukrainian energy boards. We have what else do we
Chinese
got?
energy companies.
Chinese energy companies.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God.
Then
He's
the whole
fine.
gun-
He's fine. It's the
There's
orange
all
man we
on
got to
the
be worried about.
It's all on the up and up.
There's the gun thing, and then there's probably hookers, which violates the Mann Act and numerous human trafficking laws.
Even
It's fine. It's fine.
even though
He's
the gun
fine.
thing, no.
Come on, man.
I think one thing it did expose a lot of those conservatives were talking a lot of bullshit because that gun law, the NRA's been against,
Mhm.
everyone's been against. This is
Oh, I
bullshit.
don't-
This bullshit.
I
Bullshit.
never-
They get
I've
Hunter
never
Biden
brought
on
the
it.
gun
Now
law.
it's like, oh, it's a good. It's
I've
a
not-
well.
I've not
we
brought
love
the gun law a
It's like,
single
oh my
time.
God.
I,
Not
but
a
I,
single time have I brought that gun law. Precisely
Everybody's
because
been
of
hate,
that, 'cause I
everybody
don't
hates
do
that gun law. They say it's
I don't do-
unconstitutional.
I don't do
but then they get
hypocrisy.
Hunter.
well,
I
I
don't
think
do
it's
that.
also,
it's a good thing.
I think it's also funny on the other side of it. They're like, well, like nobody ever gets charged with it. You're like, but I thought we were about the law. You're like, well, and it's like, yeah, a lot of people got their pants caught with their pants down about Hunter,
Yeah,
not just the
But-
hookers.
they're actually but the Fifth Circuit though I think has ruled that thing illegal. I think that there's like been
Mhm.
a stay
Yep.
on it.
Yeah, I think
Because
that
it's
gun
like
law is
because
gonna
but
go away.
it is kind of ridiculous because they essentially are taking away your right because you said yes, I used drugs in the past. It's like what that allows them to just
Well,
take away a constitutional
yeah.
right, and
And
then
the
but that's
problem-
Thomas's argument. Thomas's argument is that it's a
Yeah.
disfavored right because in no other right, for instance, freedom of speech, you can say they can have you check a box. Yeah, I've smoked marijuana in the past, and all of a sudden you can't exercise your freedom of speech. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, there's a real bad law that's going into effect in Michigan, which essentially, if I read it correctly, and I'm pretty sure I did, I've read it a few times on stream. We'll say an ex-wife can file a complaint against you, whereby you then have the burden to prove you are not a danger to yourself for the simple act of attempting to purchase a firearm.
Oh, that's the red flag standard for you guys.
Yep,
Jeez.
that's the red flag standard. That's how great that is. Because a family member can file, which includes an ex-wife, and one of the enumerated things that the court can consider out of like 12 things is simply the attempted purchase of a firearm. So by mere act of purchasing a firearm, you can then have all your firearms removed.
Well,
But,
I
but
will
are you guys saying that because there are two theories on this, right? The New York, I call it the Second Circuit theory and the Fifth Circuit theory. Second Circuit says intermediate scrutiny for gun laws. So in other words, they can do this. But then the Fifth Circuit says it's strict scrutiny because it's a fundamental right. It's enumerated right in the Constitution.
Yeah.
So, but now if you go with the strict scrutiny version, then everything you're saying is unconstitutional. But then if you go with the Second Circuit version, everything you're saying is okay. So
And I'm in the sixth. Where do they come down at?
They're more
haven't yet.
more in line with the Second Circuit.
yeah.
So
No,
it's like,
I'm Bruin Uber alles. That's where I'm at. I'm with the.
but
Fifth
that's
Circuit.
strict scrutiny. That's strict scrutiny.
Mhm. Yeah, and I'm fine
We're
with that.
Bruin the strict scrutiny. So now it's like, you know,
You're in
But
Ohio.
then-
You're Sixth Circuit.
I know, but I'm fine with. I want the Fifth
Oh.
Circuit. I'm
Oh,
I
I see what you're saying.
Like,
He's looking to change. He's looking to move down south.
Hey Joe, my the chat, at least my chat that's in your chat, is asking what Lego you're building on my Lego stream. with
Okay,
Valhalla.
so let's talk about this. Okay.
oh, hold on.
So,
Before you get into that, let me get out of here, guys. I'm sorry because I get
later,
it's-
brother.
it's
Thank you
almost-
so much
almost
for
11
coming
Take care,
by.
o'clock. I gotta get out of here.
I
Take care,
appreciate
guys.
you.
take care.
I appreciate you. Thank you for stopping by, brother.
Take care.
I love his new layout there. It's really
Michigan
good.
got red flag. It sucks. Yeah.
You
Okay,
guys have
let's-
a lot
let's
of
do it.
crap coming.
Let's do it
Yeah,
right
we do.
now. Let's do it right now. What am I supposed to buy on Amazon here?
I
need
sent you
to-
a link.
You did?
It's a New York skyline. It's like $60.
Jill,
It's on,
build a
and I
Capitol
sent you an
building.
Amazon link.
Build
So
a
you can
cap.
just
You guys
order
should
it
build
and
a
they'll send
Capitol
it right
building.
to your. Have you tried Amazon before?
Yeah, I've tried Amazon before. Bastard, shut up.
David, you guys should build a. You should build a Capitol building.
Yeah.
See if the FBI comes to your house.
Oh,
Okay.
yeah, because we're mapping it out.
Yeah.
You know, we can't have the layout of the Capitol
Mhm.
building.
Well, Joe, you could do like what I did up there, and that's a Panzer IV up there, Lego.
I'm looking to see where that link. Oh,
I
the
sent
New
it
York
to you on
Times,
X.
$60.
Yeah, 60. It's cheap, man. Do you know how expensive this pirate ship behind me? This was like 160 right here.
Yeah, Lego's
This Lego right here was like 140.
Oh,
This
yeah.
Lego up there.
God.
I give you one that's half price. Price. And I super chatted you $20 towards it.
David, I remember as a kid, Legos were dirt cheap.
I know. Well, you know what? Okay, so Sean,
I was looking at this. I gotta make a wedding, brother.
I gotta do dowry.
What about
Hollis said she just got
LED
$130.
lighting kit for architect? Does Brixmax work, or is that compatible with
Brixmax
Lego?
is not Lego.
No, that's
it's
not
Lego,
Lego.
man. We need a Lego.
Fine.
Bahala just bought a $130 set. No, I was gonna say, Sean. So my next build is actually one from 1996 that I had as a kid, and I'm putting the pieces back together and making sure I have them all.
What is it, Space Force? Because that's like 96 time frame.
No, it's Wild West. It's the Wild West one. It's
How old are
but
you?
it's I have to think. I'm 43.
Okay, you're not that far ahead of me then. I'm 38.
But it's like half the number of pieces that you get in like a set today, and that's why I think it's cheaper. You mentioned that they were cheaper.
Well, but I think also just the scale of things, because like I remember like the castle sets, and it came with that little plastic the base.
Yeah.
Like because my nephew plays with those, and I was looking at them, and I went and Googled some of the original ones, like, and they're like, if you had the full set, it's worth like decent money, or like the Royal Knights collection.
That's like the next one I'm going to build.
Oh, the Royal Knights Castle.
Yeah, I have that one too. I have the base for it. And
oh, you do? Oh God, I think I still have the base somewhere too, but I have all the pieces. Are
21,000 pieces
for
21,000 pieces? That's not 21,000. You're probably looking at the product number. Wait, which one are you looking at?
The screen, you know?
Yeah, show the screen.
Well, actually, be careful because it shows where you. Well, there you go.
Is it 21,000? No, that's the code. It's 598 pieces. It's a small set.
Yeah.
Remember, a lot of those pieces are tiny.
Yeah.
Right.
598 pieces. That's a smaller set.
I was looking actually at this.
That's the one.
Well, how many pieces is this?
Ooh, 3,452.
That's what's the brand? Rookie something? It's not Lego.
Yeah,
so that doesn't count.
Those are Regos.
Regos. Yeah, they lost the patent, the U.S. patent on their stuff.
I just realized what you were doing with Regos. That is the most racist joke I've heard in the last year. Regos. Oh my god, that is so freaking racist.
Oh, what is that? That's
all right.
Those studs are too big.
All right, so I've got to get.
Yeah, you got to get that right there. Lego architecture, New York City. See, I sent you the New York City skyline.
Okay.
That's a nice tank. Is that Lego?
No, this is I forget what it is, but my girlfriend got it for me, and it's some other brand, but they do like all these pieces that are on it. You know, you couldn't really. It's all the it's kind of like how Legos now have the fitted chunks and the molded pieces. Whereas a kid, you had to use your imagination. But
yeah, right. Yeah, there's no imagination anymore. You might want to pull the screen down before you order it, so we don't see all your credit card info.
Yeah, I know. I got you.
Oh, that sounds great.
I got you.
The expert almost doxed himself the other day.
I'm trying to find the buy now thing, and I don't see the buy now button here.
I think everybody else took them a second. They got the Regos as well.
It took me a second to recognize what you're saying.
Because we have at home.
I'm not seeing a buy now here. I'm not going to kid you.
Really?
Yeah,
that's weird.
Yeah, I'm not seeing that buy now thing at all.
Besides, Joe, you live near New York City. You can go to like the Lego store.
Yeah, they got a huge one right there, like Times Square or something. It's got to be.
Joe's looking at you.
Just take the ferry across. Do you live in New Jersey?
I live in Jersey. Yeah.
Take the train.
Yeah. I went to New York City for the first time last year. I stayed in Jersey and took the ferry over, and then spent the entire day walking like 23,000 miles around the city, and then went back to the hotel and crashed.
Okay. All kidding aside here, you guys actually see a button here for me to hit to buy this thing?
I can't. Well, it's top right. Let's see here. Add to registry gift. See all buying options. That's where you got to go. See all buying options.
See all buying. Where am I looking?
Right. Go to the right. Right there at the top. It has your. No. Go down a little bit. Right there. See all buying options. There. You might. I don't know if you want to. There you go.
There you
64. Add to cart. Deliver. Blah blah blah. All that
Beautiful.
good stuff.
All
There you
right.
go. Go with the
All right.
cheaper option.
Yeah.
You get it by the 13th. When's our stream? 16th, right?
Yeah. All right, fine.
That'll
Oh,
work.
All right.
Also, Joe, actually, never mind.
What?
I was gonna say, I know it's coming up. Happy Hanukkah.
Thank you.
Since it's-
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's
it starts this week or tomorrow. Oh,
Is it tomorrow already?
Today's Tuesday. I think it starts Thursday night. So
How does the calendar work for that? Like how is it?
there's
determined?
there's a lunar calendar, which is based on when like the new moon comes, which is what Orthodox
Okay.
Jews work on. We work by the lunar calendar. So when
Okay.
it comes to our holidays. So, and we actually have different names for Jewish months. So most holidays start on either the 1st or the 15th. Hanukkah is the only one which starts on the 25th of the month. And so
So when did you start counting the month? Well, I
So-
guess it would have been like 24 days ago, huh?
Oh, well, 23 days. I mean, 23 days.
Oh.
And also our days start in the evening, like the night before. So, and the sunset is like the start of a new day. And then,
Okay.
so that's why the first night.
it's like a vampire.
Well, if you think about it, I'll tell you right now with the simple explanation as to the origin of that is if you look in your Bible, which you guys are both religious folk, so you study your Bible, creation of the world says it was night, it was day one. So since it says night first, so we basically say night is the commencement of the start of the new day. That's the origin of that. All right,
Okay.
I'm proceeding to my checkout. Placing my
Tina
order.
wants to know if you can celebrate Hanukkah if you're not Jewish.
You can celebrate whatever you want. I don't care.
Like 8 crazy
I'm not-
nights over
I'm not-
one day.
There you go. It's an interesting thing about that is when I was growing up in my house, we lit candles every night, but we only got one night of presents. My wife grew up in a house which has 8 nights of presents. So my kids grew up in a house which has 8 nights of presents. I was like, I never got these things when I was a kid. I never got that. How do I check out here?
My dad is Lutheran. I was raised Lutheran and a very German family. And so they would always celebrate much like Europeans do, or at least Northern Europeans. On Christmas Eve is when you opened all your presents and things. And so that's how my dad grew up. But my mom, who was Catholic, you did everything on Christmas Day. So we did everything on Christmas Day.
Oh, well, there you go. I don't even know who I used to pay for this. I think I used the wrong account to pay for this. That sucks. I just hit buy now, and the next thing I know, it's bought. So I'm supposed to be getting on December 12th or the 13th. We're locked in for the 16th.
Awesome. Very cool. Very excited. I got questions for you.
Do you really have questions for me?
Yeah, well, we do it more like an interview sort of style. But while you're being interviewed, you got to build your Lego.
While my brain is locked elsewhere. That's surprisingly shrewd. Not going to kid you.
Like that? You like that?
Yeah, I do. It's like you're much more likely to give us an honest answer if your brain is like 20% elsewhere, 25% elsewhere. That's actually pretty clever. It's pretty wise move on your part. Let me get some super chats and get you guys on out of here. So Allegan News says only thing over taking your property rights. That's true. 1936 Scores was full eugenics. It was full eugenics is good. Many of those cases should be overturned. Yeah.
I agree. There's a lot of bad cases out of the 30s.
And the 40s too.
Yeah.
I mean, after the New Deal, oh my God, that was just a disaster what that court was doing.
Post-Lawgic court should be abolished.
Yeah, what was the name of that case? Which basically that they always bring up.
Lochner about like the bread, and you couldn't work 1 million hours, but the Supreme Court said yes, and then they repealed it right away.
No, I was talking about that enabled states that basically vitiated all state rights and said that the federal government can basically.
The federal blackmail case? I don't know what.
No, not federal blackmail. I think it was to support the New Deal because they were afraid of being that FDR was going to pack the court. So they basically said, "Oh yeah, they can." We don't care that this is really a states' right issue, that you can use money as a carrot and dangle it in front of states to ensure that basically What was
Well, that's
name
the
of
federal. That's a blackmail one. That's the one I was talking about.
Oh, that's
That's
remember
why I call it.
blackmail.
I call it federal blackmail. Yeah,
Oh, that's pretty funny. Yeah,
Yeah.
federal blackmail. It's with a W.
yeah. I can't remember the name of that case.
Drawing a blank right now. Printer God says knowledge/content considered type of property. IP and TM laws. Can you restrict types of property from being consumed or spread? Yeah, for sure. I mean,
Intellectual
sovereignty?
property is a thing.
Yeah.
That's where you get into like copyrights and
Yeah, the biggest issue with the whole Montana TikTok thing for me is that it was the state government, not the federal government doing it. If the federal government was the one doing it, we'd have a whole different analysis, and really it would probably take like public pressure to block it, because the federal government could absolutely do it.
Mhm.
Matthew Feltz, he says I should check rants and I am checking rants. I'm being good about checking for rants on
Is it
locals. Love.
Wickard?
Yes, Wickard v. Fillmore.
Oh,
right?
Wicked
Yeah,
about
yeah,
the grain?
Yeah, there
Oh,
it is.
well,
Wickard v. Fillmore.
okay.
Yeah. It's reform. So Rivka the Jade Gamer says Reformed Jews that confuse me with celebrating Hanukkah. They're the inheritors of the Hellenistic legacy. Quote, if we just pretend not to be Jewish, yep, they are. Wickard v. Filburn. That's it. Filburn, not Fillmore. Filburn.
Oh,
Is the one I
Filburn,
want to
yes.
see destroyed. That's that
Another
Rivka-
Ohio man.
Yeah,
Yep.
good job coming up with the name of that. That was I had a mental block on there, Rivka.
Unanimous court. Unanimous.
Yeah,
Well, it also said
unanimously
because-
terrified of being packed.
Filburn was also because of a war. That was part of the issue. That was why there was the grain limits.
Yeah. R Dub says in the Apology of Socrates, he addresses this very concept of government determining what is and isn't okay for the youth to consume. Interesting how history repeats itself. Well, there you go. Wellesley says California doesn't allow sale of firearms, gas-powered lawnmower, and Skittles, which you would think that they would want every Californian to taste the rainbow.
Wait, are Skittles banned in California? Really? That's the most shocking thing.
It is because, like I said, you would think in California they want every Californian to taste the
Taste
rainbow.
the rainbow.
Yeah, taste the rainbow. Right?
Allegan News says moot standing latches. They're all Pontius Pilate excuses.
Mhm,
Not to
they
make
are.
them Yep, they are. Congratulations. Here's the bliss. Thank you, WDW. I appreciate you stopping by here, brother. Check your diggers tips. I looked in my dig. You know what? Maybe it's not refreshing. That's what I think is happening there. That's what I think. My diggers is my locals chat. Oh my gosh, I do have a whole bunch of diggers tips. Oh, I apologize. Locals is working like really messed up. Divine says, "Oh, that was the sweetest toast ever. Made me miss my dad. Congratulations, you're a great dad, husband, friend, and my favorite streamer of all. I look forward to your shows every day." And oh, that's so sweet. Thank you, Divine. May you and family continue to be showered with blessings always. Amen. Thank you. Viola says, Baruch Hashem, I'm going to give each of you guys a little chauffeur. Viola says, Baruch Hashem for your family, Joe. Many blessings to the happy couple. Thank you so much, Viola. Beak Boop says, and I'll give you another one of those. Viola. Congratulations, Joe and family. So happy for you guys. Fan says, can we do a stream of all worst SCOTUS cases still standing? That's not bad. That's really not bad at all. So Allegan News says, how the F is right to privacy strict scrutiny, but gun law is not? I don't know. That's a good question. Legal Vices, stopping on by. Congrats, brother. I couldn't break away from work. Here's some wedding help. You'll need it. If you all love a channel with consistently great content, I recommend me, but Joe's okay too. I kid. Again, congrats. Thank you so much for stopping by, brother. Hope you have a great day at work. And Sherry Lawlessness says, my 10-year-old just built a New York skyline in just a few hours. You can do it, Joe. You can do it. You can do it. Thank you so much, Sherry. Appreciate that. I think that covers everything. I think that's it. Yeah.
We Lady Law Sandra actually posted Title 47 U.S. Code 230, which is interesting because I think this is a federal statute that talks about free and open communications via the internet, essentially. And I wonder if statutorily the whole ban on TikTok by Montana could be just shut down as it violates federal law. This particular statute. That's just a whole nother avenue. We don't even need to get into, a First Amendment or states' rights sort of thing. It violates federal law, supremacy clause. So that was a whole different avenue. She just pulled out that statute,
Well,
and I was just reading through it. That's interesting.
In the decision, they bring up the supremacy clause, and that's that. And I actually made reference to the fact that they said that we don't know that, like, why Montana would have the individual right to do this. In general, like, I have this whole problem with Georgia going after Trump, where I'm like, you're looking at yourself like you're so special in your abilities to go after Trump, but in theory, there's a half a dozen states which could make the same stupid claim, and it's ridiculous.
Georgia lacks standing. Let's use it against them. Damn it.
Yeah. It should be used against them. It should, because I mean, the fact that Georgia thinks that they're individually, like, they have some sort of specific basis to go after him on a RICO basis, why would that RICO basis not apply in Pennsylvania and Michigan or in Arizona? Like, how are they any different? So would you say they should be criminally charged in all of them? It makes absolutely no sense at all. I mean, literally no sense. So,
I mean, a criminal organization, it's just nonsensical. But I think that the thing that Georgia's doing is they saw the RICO, they started using it like in Young Thugs and things like that, and they're just rolling with it.
And that case is a disaster.
Oh, it is a disaster of a case. I've been watching it with Nick.
I watched some of it today, and it was just
yeah.
It's
But I think they got their hands on a interpretation of the RICO statute, and they're like, we can apply this everywhere. Oh my God, this is the greatest gift. And just start spraying it all over the place. That's what I think they're doing with the RICO thing. We're gonna it's a big pot. We can just throw everybody we don't want into it and charge them.
Yeah. Yeah. Dershowitz said, you want to win a criminal prosecution? Use RICO. Always use RICO. Because it's like it's so broad and it gives you so many bases to go after someone. Dove Omega, last one in here. Mazel Tov L'chaim, congrats. Thank you so much, Dove. I really appreciate your support, my brother. And I think that's my show. I thank you guys for joining me and all my other guests who popped in here. I hope you guys all enjoyed yourselves, had a good time. I will be joining. So two things. First of all, tomorrow afternoon, I am going to be covering the Trump, the Trump oral arguments going on in Colorado. I will be streaming that tomorrow afternoon. I think that's at 3 p.m. Eastern time or thereabouts. But if you check locals, goodlawgik.com, you'll find me. You'll get verification and a link from there. And I want to thank each of you for joining me. On December 16th, I'm going to be joining up with you on your channel, or is it on Valhalla? I always confused.
We dual stream it. Yep.
So I'm going to be joining up with this based man right here, Making Law Simple. He gave up on Michigan law and recognized that Making Law Simple is a million times better name, and he was right. And of course, if you want to hear the based ramblings of a guy who actually figured out how to aim his camera so that he doesn't look like he's a dwarf, I urge you guys to check out Potentially Criminal, as well as all the other people. You'll find links to them in the description down below. I'm redirecting you all on over to my good friend Nick Rekieta, and I will see you tomorrow at 3 o'clock. Or if not, if you can't make it then I'll see you tomorrow night. I thank you all for joining me. Be happy, eat some bugs. And as always, my friends, I say Godspeed.